wow. Isn't that a fantastic intro, guys? That's not bad for a couple of amateurs, eh?
Couple rookies.
You did a great job on that, Andrew. You really did.
Hey, as usual, it's my pleasure to introduce the 5150 show. I've got the easy job. I just have to stand here and say, hey, hello to Kurt 5150, and on the bottom there, at Brad Cook Music. Something like that.
It's really easy, Andrew. Complicated.
Yeah, Brad Cook Music.
Check it out. Check out bradcookmusic.com. www. Good.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to see you guys. So I've got to find something, so I'm going to let you guys say hello to people while I try and find something. Okay, so you're going to get some quietness out of me for a couple of minutes.
Well, hey, that's all good. That'll give some people time to jump on in. Brad, what you got there in?
Normally we can't shut you up, Andrew. What's going on? Yeah, Kurt, I've been searching for, since Ed passed, for guitar magazines and things here in Australia. It's been really difficult to get my hands on anything. And I know you guys have had the pleasure of showing this, but I actually got this week, so I'm pretty excited. And, pretty damn excited. So I haven't finished reading it all yet because I only got it on Thursday and I've been working my guts out. But I don't know, Kurt, there's a section here on the ranking of, which I thought was pretty unique because we're doing rankings, right? 20 greatest guitar moments ranked. I won't go I won't read over every single one of them, but what's your opinion on these, Kurt? Because you've had a good chance to look at this,
Yeah.
Obviously, Eruption's number one. So I was quite surprised to see Beat It at number two.
Well, for me, that solo is actually probably in one of my top five. And I know there's a guy in this room that knows how to play it.
It's not this guy.
What I'm saying is there's like a ton of I don't know. For me, even like the live solo spot, Live Without a Net, I reckon that should have been number two, really.
Yeah.
And they've rated it 20. So maybe that could be a future show for us, guys.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how we have Beat It, Jump. Beat It's number two, Jump's number three, Panama's number four, Hot for Teachers number five, which all kind of coincides with the album that we're going to be talking about today. Because for me, I would consider Beat It as part of the 1984 era, right? Because it has a huge factor in this album. So pretty crazy that all four of those solos made the top five.
Yeah, well, for me, Beat It should have been further down the list. That's just for me. But,
sure.
But yeah,
I would agree with you. So not to put you on the spot, what would be your top five solos from Eddie?
Oh, wow.
If you could just rattle them off.
Off the top of my head, well, just looking at these ones, I would have to say, well, we'll put Eruption number one because this is the one he's really known for. I mean, it's probably the most famous, but I would say number two would have to be the live solo spot in Live Without a Net. That would be number two for me. I mean, that's pretty. Don't know whether I've seen a solo spot from Ed that's much better than that. I would have Spanish Fly at number three.
I love it.
Cathedral number four.
Ooh,
and probably Mean Streets, I reckon.
Okay.
But this is it might change. I have a tendency to change my mind. Every week my mind changes because I listen to that many different styles of music, and I try not to get sort of tied into one particular thing for the rest of my life. But that solo spot in Live Without a Net is phenomenal. What do you think?
Yeah. I would say Eruption obviously would be number one for me. Number two would be the Live Without a Net solo.
Yep.
I would say probably Beat It would be number three for me.
Yep.
Number four would be Ice Cream Man. That's one of my favorite solos. I love the groove. And obviously the just the technical piece of that solo and the flow that it has. And then looking over some of these, probably I'm the One would be number five for me.
Yep.
So, but if you guys haven't picked up this book, I'm not sure if it's readily available in the UK or in Australia and New Zealand where you guys are at, but I picked it up online, and it wasn't an expensive book. You know, it was, I want to say I paid $8.99 for it online and had it shipped, got it here within a week. But Brad, knowing that it's tough to get books where you're at, is that another one?
No, that's just that's probably like my all-time favorite picture of Ed. That one, I just love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
see that? I had that made the day he died, so it says Edward Van Halen, 1955 to 2020. It's a canvas.
I remember you said that. Yeah,
I was gonna say if you want, I could send you a couple of magazines. There's a few out right now that you probably can't get that I can get for you and send if you'd like.
Oh man, I won't say no. I'll return the favor somehow.
I did it for Andrew, and I know that you know, for me, receiving is giving, and paying it forward to someone, knowing that you'll get just as much out of it as I did, is worth, you know, the couple extra bucks for me to bless someone with.
I'll return the favor. No doubt. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm having trouble doing anything here in Australia. I don't know. We just seem to be lacking. It must be because of COVID getting stuff here. I don't know. But they must press them somewhere else and send them across, and I have no idea. But
I think there's a big without getting too political or anything like that. There's definitely a move to limit the amount of air freight and air travel. You know, from a carbon credit point of view. You know, from the pollution that airplanes and all that you know, generate, and you know, because we're on the bottom end of the world, Kurt, Australia and New Zealand probably are going to suffer a lot more than, you know, for example, North America and Europe. So we've had to rely, especially in the industry that I work in, we've had to rely a lot on sea freight. We took for granted for 10, 15 years air freight, but that's not coming through anymore. It's all going to be sea freight. So it's just something that we have to get used to.
Yeah, takes a little bit longer, but yeah. I mean, either way, I walked past a news agency, and I saw it. I was like, it stood out to me from the walking past the, you know, outside of the shop. I was like, oh, I'm grabbing that.
Like a light shining right on it.
Actually,
yeah.
It was. I was like, yep, beautiful. Anyway, so yeah. But other than that, I've been listening to 1984 pretty much for 2 weeks straight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
How about you guys? I haven't listened to any other Van Halen at this stage because I've had my hands full with other things, other duties, other Abbey Road and things like that. So, but bouncing between Abbey Road and 1984, it's like a big contrast, but it's all within the same thing, really, music. So
yeah. Well, this weekend, that fortnightly weekend is a big one for us because it's one that we do the 5150 show, Kurt, and then we've got on Sunday we've got the Sunday show with the blues shows. So it's yeah, it's a big weekend, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's good fun. it's good to connect this way too. And I mean, it's great to go over these songs on all the albums. I've really noticed, and I'll highlight when we get to it, Michael Anthony's bass playing in this. I'm not sure if he played bass on every song, but Kurt, maybe you're the Reverend, mate. You might be able to sort of fill us in on that. But, when we get to it.
Yeah, for sure. What I do know that this was part of when Eddie started doing some of the bass tracks, and then having Michael Anthony learn them when he got into the studio the next day. I don't think anyone will ever know what stuff on the albums was Eddie and what stuff was Michael. But I know for sure that since Eddie built the studio, this is when he started doing a lot of the bass stuff himself, where when they were renting the space at Sunset Sound or Amigo Studios, the whole band showed up and they were there together. And since they built the studio, I think there was some stuff that Eddie probably did, because this is when, and I know, Brad, you didn't read the Noel Monk book yet, but this is the time where they restructured Michael's contract to where he didn't, it wasn't split 4 ways.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with Eddie and then the studio and what he thought he was contributing.
Yeah. Not sure it's a good time for Van Halen then. Michael Anthony.
He's a big piece of it. And real quick, shout out to Lenny Lou. She says she's glad to hear the blessing from Reverend Kurt. Lenny Lou and I go way back, whether it be on the Johnny Bean show or in Johnny Bean's Discord. She's awesome and a huge Van Halen fan, very knowledgeable, and thank you for joining. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I've been following Lenny Lou on the Johnny Bean show for a long time, when the Rummeister was a regular contributor there. So it's always a pleasure to see Lenny Lou here on our show, guys. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And just another Van Halen fan hanging out, talking Van Halen. You can never have enough Van Halen shows on social media.
And if you're a big fan, we want to see your, what you rank the songs as we go in the chat, and we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah. Especially,
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Brad. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just saying, Lenny Lou, if you're a big Van Halen nut, then give us your rankings on each song as we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
The whole time.
I can't find that video.
You've given up.
I screenshot the picture and sent it to Lenny Lou. She saw me in the Revlon outfit, and she was questioning if it was blasphemy having me dressed up as a man with a cloth when I'm just a punk 28-year-old kid in the United States.
Look, I'm going to do an experiment here, guys. For me to add this to StreamYards, and I just don't have the time because I just want to make sure that I give the required attention that's needed for the show. Because it needs to be reformatted to MP4. But I'm just thinking, if I do a screen share, it might work for. So can I just see if that works now, guys? Can we do that?
Yes, please.
Why not?
Okay, so just hold on then. Let me just hold on. Let's just see if this is going to work. Hold on, guys.
Hold on.
It's all part of the learning process, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hold on.
See, all
Hold
you
on,
guys
guys.
are part of the learning process.
Okay, so if I go here to screen share, hold on, and I go to application window, and there's media player. There it is there, and I go share. Can you guys see that?
We can see something there.
You can see something? Cool. Hold on then. If you can see something. Can you see that?
It's loading.
No volume.
Oh, it looks so good too.
Okay. All right. Look. Forgive me. I thought I formatted that and loaded that on. That just goes to show how irresponsible I was to my other co-hosts. I thought I had that all sorted. Forgive me, Kurt. Forgive me, brother.
All good.
Oh, damn it.
Bummer. Anyway, okay. All right, let's get into the intro. So I'm going to share the introduction on this album with our co-hosts. We're going to have a general discussion, Lenny Lou, and we've got 7 people watching. So I think it's just probably a better way for us to discuss, especially landmark albums. But that's no disrespect to any of the other albums that we've done, because each time we are contributing towards an album for that period in our time as it is now, that's the most important album, if that makes any sense. So 1984, released in January the 9th, 1984, obviously. Just one little thing that I want to mention too, and it never sort of came to my mind, guys, until I was doing the research for this program, that this album was actually recorded in 1983. So it's not 1984. So I just want to bear that point out, because when we talk about 1984, you think of the year 1984. But actually it was the whole of 1983. And I think that's important when you consider the tone and some of the instruments that Eddie was using when he recorded this album, because, I'm an old fart and I was at high school around 80, 81, 82, 83, so a lot of synthesizer music was, popular at that time. But we'll get to that. So,
hey, Andrew, real quick, you kind of breezed past this, but it was released on what day?
According to my information, January the 9th.
1984. So it was released on 1984 in 1984, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. 1984 on 1984. Very smart, and we can talk about who came up with that decision too later on. Interesting too, guys. I know I need to get some feedback from you guys on this, because one source that I read, it went on to sell 10 million copies, and another source 12 million, and I think a couple of other sources saying it's about 14 million. So jeepers, if anything's over 10 million, does a couple of million matter?
No, I think you probably find those sales are based around a time frame up until, and then obviously as time goes on, they just keep selling the same record, so it probably just keeps going up and up and up. So
awesome. And before I continue, guys, we've got McKinley Lohman in here in the chat. We've got Robot Master Switch in the chat saying hi. We have Johnny Heartbreaker in there saying hello. Thank you, Lenny Lou, for saying hi. And the first person in the chat was Alan saying fabulous intro. Hi, Brad and Kurt. So, Alan, we appreciate your support. You're always consistent with your positive comments, and we appreciate that. Thank you. And we've got Teresa, who we met on Brad's Instagram account. So she's contributing to the show well too, so I'll just flick up a couple of those comments. So look, we appreciate that. We've got 10 people watching. If you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Brad, Kurt and I and the Rummeister and Simon, we've got a couple of other guys that are on the channel regularly too. We would love to get that support from you guys to help us get 1,000 subscribers. It makes things a little bit easier for us. So we'll share some of those links later. we'll share Kurt's links and we'll share Brad's links during the course of the show, because they're active on other social media platforms too. So if you can, keep in touch with them, then you can keep in touch with the show. So we appreciate that. So we're getting back to our general intro on 1984.
We need everyone to share the channel. I only have one friend, and that's Robot Master Switch, and he's on here. So I'm hoping everyone else can share the link and share the show, because I'm a loner in a one-horse town. I don't know a lot of people.
I'm with you, Kurt. Don't worry, I'm a loner here in Melbourne, mate. So I'm relying on the bulk of you people that we don't know to share it, because we're all friends online anyway. So yeah.
Well, look! It's because of Kurt's alone in a one-horse town. That gives us plenty of opportunity to take advantage of the time, because Brad, Kurt, jeepers, all these names in my head. Kurt gives us all these wonderful graphics here on the back there. We've got so we've got plenty of graphics going there. You'll see the banner on the show up there is something that Kurt did. So we always appreciate it. This show is about the co-hosts and the people in the chat. So this is your guys' show. So, and we mean that sincerely. It's just a opportunity for us just to hang out. So, yeah, appreciate it. So we're getting back to 1984. For some reason, guys, it wasn't a number one album, and another album got in the way of that album from being a number one. So that's probably something we can talk about later on in the show. But what do you guys have a preference? Do you think this album should have been a number one?
Oh, without a doubt, definitely. I mean, Michael Jackson's Thriller held number one spot. Obviously, to a bigger genre, pop rock, where Van Halen were coming from a very rock sort of background. And for them to achieve number two behind Thriller was a massive achievement. But unfortunately, I don't think anyone would have knocked off Thriller. I don't think anyone probably could have at that time. It was such a huge influential album. And as we know, Eddie was part of it for one track anyway, so kind of makes us feel a little bit better to know that Eddie was part of it. So,
yeah. And,
what about you, Kurt?
Thriller came out in 1983. It was such a huge album that it obviously carried over into 84. And typically, and Andrew and Brad, maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, since I'm only 29 years old. I don't have a lot of time under my belt, but the best time to release an album is like in the spring, summertime versus in the winter. And, they say Thriller was released at the perfect time in 1983, and Van Halen released 1984 in January, which they said right after Christmas is a bad time to release an album. But originally they were going to try to release it on New Year's Eve in 1983, but we can get into why they didn't release it then later.
Look, that's a difficult situation for me to contribute a discussion on, guys, because that Thriller album was everywhere. I can only talk about what was happening here in New Zealand, and you guys have to remember this. We didn't have MTV here. We had a music channel. I mean, a music program that used to play video hits once a week in this country, and there were a couple of afternoon school programs which would show maybe 4 or 5 videos. So we didn't get the video MTV phenomena here for a long time. So for music to have a attachment here, and I suspect maybe even in Aussie, Kurt, the music had to be good. Admittedly, it was pushed by the record companies through the radio stations, obviously, but music still had to stand alone But this is an interesting little thing as we get into ranking the tracks. Some of the tracks on this album had some phenomenal videos, and I'm sure the videos on these songs contributed to the growth of Van Halen. But I think that Thriller album was unique. If this album had been number one and Thriller number two, I wouldn't have had a problem with that either.
No.
Right. So while we're talking about this, I'm going to ask you guys a difficult question, and we can include the folks in the chat as well.
I like difficult ones.
This is a two-part question. Did Eddie's collaboration with Michael Jackson in the song Beat It, did it increase the sales of 1984 by having Michael Jackson's fans want to buy 1984? Because they heard him on the Thriller album? Or did it hurt the album of 1984 because it increased the sales of Thriller because of how well it did?
Very good question. And I'm going to give you my gut answer and say, and I'm thinking back 30 odd years, I remember being blown away that one of my heroes, Eddie Van Halen, was playing on a cultural icons record. I was blown away by it. I thought it was fantastic. It certainly opened up the conversation with people that I was hanging out with. People actually started talking about Eddie Van Halen that wouldn't have been talking about Eddie. So I'll just leave it at that and pass it on to Kurt and Brad to answer.
Brad,
That's a double-edged sword question.
Have you thought about it before?
I have. I haven't really given it much thought, but I thought about it just now. I think you could look at it both ways. It opened up an avenue for people to discover Van Halen, because if they found out Eddie Van Halen played that guitar solo on "Beat It," which is the big hit of Thriller, they would investigate it. But I think it may have helped with the sales of 1984. But I think with a pop culture type record, you're going to have bigger sales, full stop. Mm-hmm. And obviously rock fans or Van Halen fans might have actually gone and bought Thriller as well. So it would have probably been a bit of both ways maybe there. So pop culture people more discovering Van Halen. And so I don't know if it would have helped or not. I can't really answer it correctly, to be honest with you, because what do you think, Kurt? I mean, you asked the question, so you've obviously thought about it.
Yeah, well, real quick, we'll get the people in the chat involved here. So Robot Master Switch says, I was really young at the time, but I remember 1984 and Thriller were being played constantly everywhere. They were really built on MTV, obviously, right? So, and the thing is, and Luca Farah talks about this, that Eddie wasn't credited on the Beat It solo, and he wasn't on the Beat It video. So if Eddie would have been on the Beat It video, and if there would have been the thing called the internet where everyone would have known that Eddie Van Halen did the solo on the Beat It album, it probably would have increased Eddie's popularity and credibility because he, made this song amazing. Let's see. What else are people saying? Yeah, that's about it. So for me, I think it helped Van Halen, believe it or not. This is one of Van Halen fans' favorite albums. But I'll get into it a little bit when I explain the album. But you got to realize what was going on before this album came out, where we had Diverdown that was half covers, and it was thrown together last minute. It did well, but it wasn't a masterpiece. And then you had Fair Warning before that, which all the diehard Van Halen fans say is a masterpiece. But when you read Noel Monk's book, they had to buy airplay on that thing because they didn't have any hits. I mean, like, Fair Warning is a deep track Van Halen nut album. But if you were to ask a hit chaser, they don't know any of the songs off Fair Warning. So I think, I think Eddie being on Thriller helped bring over some of those R&B pop enthusiasts to get 1984. And of course, it blends right in with Eddie's adding Jump and All Wait with the keyboards. Like, it was perfect timing for everything. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned that thing about Eddie's album and Fair Warning, because that's one of the notes that I've got here in my intro, guys. So clearly 1984 is Eddie's album, in my opinion. And it was recorded over the whole year, which is something really interesting given the previous albums that were recorded in quick fire time. That was certainly something that Van Halen were very good at. Very skillful at. Ted Templeton, obviously as a producer, could harness that vibrancy that the band had, and it was a bit of a necessity too, I suppose, because they were a touring band. So getting into the studio and then backing up a tour with another album, it's important because these guys are living in a commercial world. It's all about selling albums and selling tours, and Van Halen was certainly very good at that. Then we get this album, which was recorded over a 12-month period, and we can talk about this. I want to pass this over to my co-host too, because they've got opinions on. So the key for this album is 5150. Eddie's studio, and I know that Kurt's going to talk about that later on. If this album wasn't recorded at 5150, I don't think this album would have come to light. When you consider the dynamic that was happening in the band at that time, and my co-hosts and I were talking about this, we're chatting about it in preparation for the show, about what Noel Monk was saying about David Lee Roth and the way that he was interacting with the band, and how the Van Halens in particular just couldn't be in the same room with the guy. And to go through that process, I haven't been in that process of recording an album with that kind of dynamic going. It's just a credit to the music. What do you guys reckon?
Yeah, I think everything you said there, Andrew, I kind of agree with everything, actually. I mean, to record an album, from what the information that I've seen as well, it just mirrors basically what you've said, and it was a turmoil era for that lineup of Van Halen. I mean, they couldn't be in the same room together. Without 5150 being built, maybe I think you're dead right. I think this album might not have seen the light of day. So, thank goodness Ed decided to take it upon himself to, build a studio.
Yeah. And Eddie wrote 16 songs for this album. After he wrote the initial songs, the band was getting after him, because instead of getting back to, hey, we need a solo for this, we need you to get an intro for this, we need an outro for that, he was doing new songs, and the band was getting frustrated because he wasn't finishing the songs that they had, prepared for the album, or he just kept writing. And that was kind of the start of how the studio opened up the floodgates.
And as we get into the tracks, Andrew, I mean, we can talk about beforehand how, like, say, for example, Jump was an idea he had that was obviously David Lee Roth wasn't a fan of the idea of bringing keyboards into the fold. So it was denied on that previous album, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think back maybe before 82, maybe 81. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else, Andrew, on the introduction of the album?
I'm just, believe it or not, I'm still trying to format that video to try and be a good, responsible co-host for you, brother.
Okay, well, I'll go into talking about the album a little bit before we go on the tracks, if you want to do your thing real quick.
Okay, so the only other note that I've made here in the introduction, I think that probably you guys might want to contribute to is, obviously David Lee Roth and Ted Templeton didn't like the fact that this album was going to be recorded away from them at 5152. They knew that something was going to happen. And we know that they didn't like some parts of that new sound that was coming through. One of the songs in particular went back to 1981 that they didn't like, that got knocked back a couple of times. And Eddie's genius, I suppose, in the end shone through. So look, I think that's probably a good introduction from my point of view. And if you want to talk about a couple of things, Kurt and Brad, while I just try and format something here, I'd be grateful.
Yeah, Brad, I'll go real quick, and then I'll turn it over to you because I know you probably have some good stuff. But, yeah, I think, Eddie had the grand idea of making this boutique studio that he wanted to record stuff at home. And when you read Ted Templeton's book, he talks about he had no idea that they were going to record at 5150 Studios until they decided, hey, let's start tomorrow. And he was not for it. And, he describes how everything was put together with duct tape, and he felt like, the control room, he was in a bathroom, and even down to little things where he stood to the right of Don Landy during the session, and in this studio he had to stand to the left, and it threw him off. But yeah, he was against it. But like Andrew said, Eddie needed to have this studio to do this album, and I think Eddie knew that back in 82 when they were done with Diverdown, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but he released the funds while they were on tour for Diverdown to have this thing built, and he gave Don Landy a budget and said, get it done. And that thing was being built and was waiting for him while he was out on tour. Real quick, I want to talk about the cover art, which you guys have all seen. This was done by Margot Neuhaus, I think is how you say it. But originally, the band wanted her to do 4 dancing chrome women, sexy chrome women, representing.
That's correct.
Who knows what?
Yep.
Yeah. And she was against it. She didn't want to do it. And I think she must have had some previous work that she had done in the past with some chrome art. And so she said, no, I'm not going to do some chrome women, but here's my portfolio. Dig through here and see if there's anything that you would want. And lo and behold, this was the only picture that wasn't picked up by someone else. It was something she had done on the side for a friend. And of course, imagine Alex and Dave and Eddie all being smokers, they probably thought it was freaking hilarious that this kid was smoking a candy cigarette in the picture, and they gravitated to it. So I know in the UK, they put a sticker over the kid smoking a cigarette, so that was like a no-no. But one of the things, we'll see if anyone in the chat let's see if anyone in the chat knows what this represents.
Just hold on, mate. I'll present you. Hold on, buddy. Hold on. Where's Kurt? Where is he? There he is there.
There we go. Does anyone know what this is and why it's in here? Brad, do you know what it is?
I want to see if anyone in the chat knows now.
I don't know, so I'm not going to answer. And I'll
while we're waiting for the people in the chat, I'll just kind of go through my last bit.
Okay.
Light cans, close. Lenny
Light
Lou,
cans.
of course, she's a fanatic Van Halen fan. So
Missiles.
what's that? No one knows?
Tell us.
No.
So when they were getting ready for the tour, they bought a ton of lights for the stage. I want to say, I got notes here somewhere. 175,000 tons of equipment, 9 trucks and 5 buses, 75 crewmen for this tour. And previous, they had 70 crewmen and they had 5 trucks. I read somewhere where the light wattage, but they had the most amount of lights that anyone or any band had ever had on stage for their live show. And they were so excited about this live rig that they had produced with all these lights that these are actually light bulb cans as they're
really?
preparing for their tour when they were putting everything together before they put it in the truck. This is in a parking lot somewhere where they're prepping for the tour.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. If someone can learn one thing from this show, I've done my job.
I knew they were the back of park hand lights, but I didn't realize they took them in a car park. And I knew that this tour, on the back end of this album, they pretty much broke even if they were lucky on this tour because of the amount of lighting and people they had involved in the tour. So, yeah.
Oh, here it is. 15 million watts of lights for this tour.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
And real quick before I turn it over to Brad, since we talked about the #1 album, I thought I would write down what was the top 10 in 1984. So Bruce Springsteen, Prince, The Police, Duran Duran, Footloose, the soundtrack. You guys remember that? That was huge. Huey Lewis and the News with Sport, which was big.
Huge.
Lionel Richie.
Huge band.
And Johnny Bean's favorite, Billy Joel, and then Thriller in 1984. Those were the top 10 albums that year. So pretty big albums.
Awesome. Hey, I've found it's uploaded. We've found the Reverend Kurt's video. It's all uploaded, so that's fantastic. So before we get into the tracks, guys, do we want to do Guru's collectibles? Is this a good time to do that?
Brad, do you have anything you want to add about the album?
There was a few things you guys have covered anyway, but just want to bring up the fact. I mean, you talk about the time frame and Eddie being such an innovator. So this album was recorded in '83. So the synthesizer sounds. I'm not sure if there was anything around at the time that had the same intensity and power of synthesizers. I mean, back in those days, there was no presets, there was no patches, there was nothing. He had to come up with those sounds himself. So I think that's a pretty important part too. We know Eddie is an innovator for his guitar tweaking, pulling tones, making things work that don't work, and doing weird and wonderful things to his guitars. But I think that's one thing that I think we should bring up, because obviously there is a fair synth-driven number of songs on this, especially the opening part. If you listen to that, I can't remember going through any albums around that early 80s period with synthesizer sounds that sound that big. To me, I just think Ed obviously spent a fair bit of time on that. That was something that I read somewhere, that he actually focused on that very hard. And I think that might have even been him proving a point, maybe. So
Think about Rush. They were heavy in the synthesizer back then.
Yep.
But it was nothing compared to what he was getting on tape.
So
I hope I didn't offend any Rush fans, but
no. Well, look, even the tail end of Led Zeppelin were using synthesizers like John Paul Jones and that. And I'm a massive massive Led Zeppelin fan as well. And no disrespect to Jonesy, because he pulled amazing tones, but the sounds on this are not long after that In Through the Outdoor album came out a few years later, and the sounds are massive. I'm fortunate I work in an 80s band with a guy that pulls amazing tones out of his synthesizers and stuff. But back in those days, they had no patches to work with, nothing. It was all from scratch. So I just want to highlight that. I thought that's a pretty important part.
Good point.
Of Eddie being an innovator, you know. The songwriting credits, I mean, I didn't really want to touch on that. And obviously with the songs, we're going to dive into them, but the synthesizers on 3 or 4 songs, like pretty heavily. And the opening piece, 1984, which might lead us into the rankings.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Yeah. I don't think we can escape from any conversation about the synth and what that meant and I suppose the creativity foundation that Eddie was getting from that kind of music, from doing something around that music. Clearly it was something that he had to do, that he wanted, you know, and we're all guitar players, and Brad, you know, I've said this before, you know, you're a performing musician. Sometimes you just got to get something out, you know, and clearly this guy has to, so, and he gets it out on this album, doesn't he?
Yeah, you make a good point too, Brad, that I don't know if anyone owns a synthesizer or knows anyone that has one or has bought one recently. Almost every one of them has a jump patch on it.
You're joking me, really?
No, I'm serious, yeah. Some of them have a like a Love Walks In. I can't remember what it's called, but a lot of them have a patch called Jump.
Holy moly.
Yeah. If you were to go to Walmart and buy a little keyboard with digital patches, I'm 90% sure that it'll have a jump patch in it for that sound.
Wow.
So that tells you his impact and kind of how ahead of the times he was.
And at times you could almost mistake some of the keyboard parts for close to a sizzly guitar tone too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, James Gum.
You go, James. Hey, Brandon Ray, thank you for joining us. So, have you got some stuff there that you want to share, mate, before we get into Rankin the Tracks? Is this a good time for you to show us your stash?
Sure.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then we've got a video. Then we've got a video to show before we see what's in the bag. And now it's time for Guru's Collectibles.
All right.
Well, here he goes. Solo.
I don't know
solo. He's flying solo.
I don't know who's more pissed off, my mailman or my wife, because there's stuff coming all the time in the mail. All right. Real quick, some of this stuff's nothing big, but I thought it would be cool to share since we're doing the show. This comes from Red Shark Enterprises in Huntsville, Virginia.
Oh, man.
This is
where's that going?
It's an embroidered patch.
Wow.
It's not a sticker, it's a patch.
Is that going on a hat or on a jacket or a shirt?
It's a little big for a hat. Unless I get one of those trucker hats from the 80s.
Hey,
but
make a patch. Make an eye patch.
Hey, mate. So, I don't know. It would probably look good, Brad, on a black hoodie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Or, yeah, I reckon. Have you got a denim jacket? That would look good.
Oh, man.
I got rid of those in the 90s.
Yeah, well, denim's very 80s, mate. So, you know, denim jacket. So you might, it might suit. You got a leather jacket, mate. That
You never know. If you got a denim jacket, I may put this in the mail with a couple of those magazines I'm going to send you.
Have you got any leather pants, Kurt? You could put it on your leather pants, mate.
I do. The problem is they don't have the back side of them are open.
Oh. They're called chaps, my friend.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Andrew's excited. Kurt. Keep it PG, all right?
All right, one more here. This one actually, I saw that Fender Guru himself had sitting on his shelf.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Smells new,
Beautiful.
looks new.
Wow.
Never looked at this one before, but I'll just show maybe one or two pictures real quick, depending on what they have here. Is there anything here? Oh, there we go. Oh, man. Amazing.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Brad, I'll send you the link to this because I want to say this magazine was like $10 American.
Yeah, send me the link. That'd be awesome.
Another cool one. I don't think these are his guitars over here. This must be a guitar advertisement, but a bunch of Gibsons. Oh man, this is. Can't wait to look at this.
Oh, wow.
Good stuff. Oh man, good stuff.
You know that bumblebee guitar is growing on me lately. There's something about it.
That's going to be my next build. I hate to say it. All right, two more. This comes from, I don't know where. This, I'm going to do a tribute to the one and only Rummeister. So I can't remember. I think it was on a show before you guys hook, line, and sinkered me into doing this show for a nominal fee. Steve had talked about doing guitars where he would pick his 10 picks for his 5150 before he sold them.
Oh, that's yeah. And he had a couple to go before he had the replica 86 tour set up on his 5150. Oh man, really?
So, before, I'll grab my guitar real quick. And we're getting into this is my homage to Steve, but if you're getting into the nerdy part of this, I used to have some EVH white picks on here because I couldn't get a hold of the 5150 ones that he used in this era. But this is white gaffer's tape, which if any of you guys, I had to buy this special from Amazon. This is what Eddie used, was white gaffer's tape. It won't take the finish off your guitar.
Oh, okay. I just used the silver gaffer's tape and fold it. I didn't realize that. Hey, Tony, Fruitcake Tony. Oh, hey Johnny.
Tony, here we go. We're going to do some picks.
We're going to get raided.
All right, coming out of the bag. Here we go. I got some custom 5150 picks made for my 5150.
Oh.
Now, as you guys know, Eddie's true picks that he used, and Fruitcake Tony, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the 1 and the 0 a little bit lower than the 2 5s, which when I put this together for the setup, it wouldn't allow me to do it. But so I got 12 5150 picks for my Kramer 5150.
Awesome.
My next order, I might do a 5150 show set of picks where maybe we put both Van Halen logos on them or something, and I'll send you guys some.
Fantastic. Awesome.
All right. Last thing.
Hey, before we get into the rest of the show, I just want to say hi to the guys that are rating us from the Johnny Bean Show. We always appreciate being rated. And look, we want to get into a position where Kurt, Brad, and I can go and raid other shows. So for you guys to help us go and raid other shows, subscribe to the channel, please. If you can hit that subscribe button, my co-hosts and I would appreciate your support, please. While you're here, just go up there and hit that subscribe button, please, and we'll be very grateful. So I just want to say, Kurt, those picks are going to be awesome. And white gaffer tape. That's interesting because on my 5150 over there, I'm just using silver gaffer tape folded. I didn't realize it was white.
Yeah, he uses white. I don't know why, but that's what he uses.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Well, thank you, Johnny Bean, for the raid. I was actually on his show for the first hour and a half. Great show with him and Jay Hannon, and Fruitcake Tony takes over, I think, the last hour. They do awesome job.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, we can never say thank you to Johnny Bean enough for what he does in the Van Halen community. He is the granddaddy. He is the big poobah. He is the one that we acknowledge for a lot of other shows out there. You know, in a strange kind of way, Dave Nesdell has Johnny Bean to thank too. You know, so there's a lot of, you know, even us guys, you know, with our small little show, just gave us the ability and the idea to, you know, talk about things that probably you'd only talk to your close friends about when you were growing up. That's one of the great things about social media. We can find all these other guys around the world and talk about white gaffer tape and white pickups that match a 1986 5150.
There you go. What's up, Wayno? How you doing, buddy?
Yeah. And I just want to do another special shout out to you, Kurt, because you actively push the show on other social media platforms. So thank you for that, brother, and thank you for making our channel. What's the word? Promoting it. And one other thing too, guys. Every time you subscribe to our show, we subscribe back. We're not one of those shows that just wants subscriptions. If you want to build your own channel, your own media platform, we always sub back. So I can guarantee you that we'll sub back. And yeah, thank you. So we're getting on to the tracks, guys. Is that okay?
One more.
Oh, wow, cheapers. Holy cow.
So if you guys remember 2 weeks ago when I opened up the pick guard for my EVH Frankie, the white and black guitar, I threw that on. It's not on, but I was still waiting for the new humbucker.
Oh, so yeah.
On my Kramer 5150, I have a Seymour Duncan JB, and on my EVH Frankie white and black, I have a JB, and they sound similar. So I thought I would get something different for the Frankie just to change it up because, you know, they are two totally different guitars. One has a Floyd, one doesn't, but I wanted to get a different sound out of that. So with that being said, we'll make this quick. Any of you guys heard of the company Planet Tone?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is their 1978 Pasadena humbucker.
Oh, wow. I've heard reviews about that. It gets rave reviews. The Pasadena.
There we go. Looks like your normal humbucker, but 1978 Pasadena bridge, Planet Tone. Super excited to.
Is that hotter than the JB?
Throw that thing in here. Yeah, it should be different than the JB, and it'll kind of give me that that classic sound that I'm looking for. So hopefully I can get this thing thrown in sooner or later. All right, that's all I got, boys.
Wow.
Awesome.
Well,
so is that a hotter pickup than the JB, Kurt?
I don't think so. They say that Eddie's the pickup in his Frankie wasn't super hot.
No.
So
Yeah, we're sitting here with gear envy. We're all sitting here with gear envy.
well, I mean, I got this guitar.
Yeah, we're waiting for that
too.
one, baby. All right, hold on. Here we go. Here we go. Wow.
I've never owned a Harley Benton, but I've heard a ton of great things about it. I actually changed out the knobs; they had gold knobs. But this thing, it rings out. I mean, amazing. I'm pretty happy with it. So
Awesome.
I picked that up yesterday too.
Bolt-on neck?
No, it's a through neck.
Wow, even better. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the tuners are amazing on this thing. I was surprised for a $200+ guitar. Yeah,
That's amazing.
Still fresh.
Awesome.
Always wanted a Les Paul, and I came across the opportunity to pick that up, and I mean, I'm blessed for sure.
Well, you got to have a Les Paul. With a Les Paul and a Strat, you've pretty well, mate, got it sussed. And like we were saying, we were messaging each other, weren't we? That classic rock sound that you have in the back of your mind can only, in reality, come through, a humbucker type, guitar. And those Harley Bentons, I don't think I've come across a negative review about them from established reviewers, and these are guys that don't get paid to do it, but who do have a good following, and they do have a reputation for telling the truth, because if they were junk, they'd say so. So you've got a beast there, my friend.
Yeah,
I'm excited. It's fun to play too. Very fun.
And we're all a bit jealous, Kurt, because you got all this stuff this week, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a wonderful wife, Kurt. Let's just say that.
Oh, she is amazing. Amazing. If she was here, I would have her come in and say hi, but I don't know why she's with me.
Oh, well, that's another show. Hey, look, that's always one of the great things about segments on these shows is, sharing all this guitar and music loving stuff with our community. So, Brad, if you get anything, put it aside, have some self-control, have some discipline, and wait for a show. Otherwise we can go live straight away so that you can unbox it.
Yeah. I am fighting the urge to spend money for left, right, and center at the moment. Don't you worry. So I'm having self-control with closing my wallet and leaving it closed.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and Robot Master Switch, he can contest too. The problem is PayPal or we already have your card on file. Just hit check out.
Yeah, easy.
The only thing I have is a worn-out guitar pick from trying to play like Eddie Van Halen for the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That's all I've got to show for it.
I got some I'll send you.
Yeah.
That's my guru collectible for this week.
Awesome. We got Sean Zinnerman in the chat. Hey, Sean. We always cross bases on other shows, so it's always nice to see Sean as well. So yeah, it's a fun time too, because you get a little bit excited. We might be grey-haired old men or 29-year-old young men. It's still an exciting. It's still an exciting time.
29. That's why she's still with me.
Oh my God! All right, guys. We're getting on to Rankin the Tracks on 1984. I think the intro that we did is pretty good, and there might be some other bits and pieces, guys, that's going to come out as we discuss the songs. So if you guys are in the chat, want to give your contributions, if you disagree with any of the marks and rankings that we give, tell us. It's your show too. So 1984, it's a wonderful example of the music as it was back in 83, in my opinion, because I had friends who were listening to Visage and Duran Duran. I had a sister who was listening to Duran Duran. So hearing the synth music was always something in the back of my mind. And when I grabbed this album, threw it on and heard this, I thought, oh, okay. It wasn't unusual. It wasn't out of place, guys, in 1984 to hear that. I want to remind guys that. It wasn't out of place. And later on, we appreciate it because that's Eddie's baby. This is Ed making, in my opinion, a stamp. He's punching the bag saying, this is me. And it's too short to skip. So even if you don't like it, no one's going to skip it. So I think everyone in the world's going to agree with that. It's too short to skip. And I've given it a rank 8 out of 10. It's setting the mood on the album. You guys, tell me what you think, Kurt and Brad.
You go first, Kurt.
For me, 7 out of 10. Still high. I consider this part of Jump. It's just kind of the way it's been. This is the intro to Jump, just like the intro to. I just lost my. What's the one on Diverdown? Anyway, this is the intro to Jump. To me, it's like a spaceship, outer space vibe. I just want to close my eyes, and it just makes me want to relax. But part of me wonders, is this Eddie kind of giving his to Dave when he didn't want any of the keyboard tracks on this album? And he's like, hey, this is my studio. This is my band. This is going to be my album. I'm going to put some keyboard tracks on this thing. And he started off with 1984 as kind of a to Dave. But yeah, to me, it's part of Jump. And believe it or not, boys, this is the last time that they had a instrumental song on their album until 1991 with the Forunlawfulcarnalknowledge album with 316.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, for me, it's just a 1984.
Hey now, Jay.
I agree. It's like an introduction to Jump, in my opinion. But every time I put it on, I have to mirror what you said there, Kurt. It's kind of like you sit back, you want to suck it in, and you want to absorb the moment and get ready for what's to come. I imagine, and like I did the first time I actually listened to this album from start to finish, I remember the day, and it sets the mood for the record. It's not really a song on its own, but I never skip it because I reckon it's a great way to actually get you in the vibe for the record. So I gave it 7 out of 10. And, it's a testament to Eddie. He obviously was making a statement, whatever that was. We don't know exactly, but he was like, here's my synth-driven sound. Like it or lump it, it's here. So, yeah. And the tones are amazing. They're really big. For a synth sound, they're massive.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's not a skip, guys. So that's fantastic. And we're within par, which is interesting. 7, 8. And what was your score, Kurt, on that, please?
7, just like Brad. We're
7.
in sync.
Okay.
We're in sync.
Awesome. Awesome. You guys have been colluding with your show notes again, I can see.
You're hanging up on you.
Yeah. I'm used to it. Okay, Jump. Look, I was in absolute awe of the song when it came out. Absolute awe. It was phenomenal. I hadn't heard anything like it. It's one of the most successful singles, number 1 single, rightly so. It's just fantastic. That keyboard hook, and I just want to echo what Kurt said earlier at the top of the show in the introduction. It's so awesome. It's so fundamental in popular music now that every keyboard you buy's got that patch on it. So well deserved and well done. And the guitar solo, again, the guitar solo is phenomenal. Spliced together, apparently, Kurt and Brad, of 3 or 4 other tracks. So if that's a spliced together guitar solo, jeepers, the production, the engineering that's gone into that. My gosh, I don't know how they did it, if at all it is spliced together. And apparently, it goes back to 81. It's been knocked back a couple of times. I don't know about this thing here, and it's always been discussed on other shows about the pinched riff from Hall & Oates. Maybe you guys can add a little bit to that in your chats about the song, but I'll leave it there. The big thing for me about this song is the video. When I was a young guy seeing this on Ready to Roll, watching David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen playing that guitar solo, it was just like I was, at Easter Mass. I was in awe of it. And because of that, it's number 10. It's 10 out of 10 for me, and it's never a skip. And it's one song that's going to be played at my funeral.
Whoa.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. But that's...
Wow.
Oh, you're a funny man, Andrew.
Yeah, you are. Okay, so childhood memory for me is MTV. Before I even knew what Van Halen was, I have memories of the Jump video. So that kind of tells you my age. I was probably 7 or 8 years old when this came out. And of course, 5150 was my start really with the album. But when I was a kid, me and my brother used to do a lip syncing show with my parents. And
awesome.
We would get cardboard and cut out a guitar. And then my brother would get cardboard and cut out, the keyboard. You played like a guitar. And we would do a lip syncing show in the living room for the family to Jump. And then I think we would probably do Panama too. But my mom got pissed when David Lee Roth would talk about putting your hands between my legs and easing the seat back. She didn't like that. But I'm going to play you guys a quick 1-minute excerpt out of a interview that Jazz Olbrich did back in 1982. And there shouldn't be any copyright infringements because this isn't a copyrighted song. It's actually off an interview. But just to set the tone for you guys who haven't heard it, Eddie was on tour for the Diverdown tour in Louisville, Kentucky, and Jazz Olbrich from Guitar World called him on his hotel phone and did this interview. And Eddie was telling him about how he was really into keyboards and that Dave didn't really like it. And he wanted him to be a guitar hero, not a keyboard player. And he actually played him this track that he had on tape. And let's see if I can play this here. Can you guys hear that?
Yep.
Yes or no? primitive. He had this tape player that had a drum loop on it, and obviously he was just tinkering around on one of his keyboards, and that right there was turned away by David Lee Roth and by Ted Templeton, either while they were doing Fair Warning or while they were recording Diverdown. And of course, when Ed gets his studio, he gets his song. And really cool hearing that. If you guys haven't heard the interview, if you just look up Jazz Olbrich 1982 interview, it's like 2 hours long. I found it one night at like 2 a.m. with my headphones on in bed, and like I listened to the whole thing. It was just mesmerizing. So please check that out. But Jump real quick, and I'll turn it over to Brad. This was the second song that they recorded on the album. And Eddie and Alex finished it at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and they picked up the phone, and Eddie called Ted Templeman, just fired up, and he's like, you got to hear this song. This is crazy. And Eddie jumped in his Porsche and went and picked up Ted Templeton and brought him back to the studio, and they played him Jump, and they all waited for David and Michael to get there so they could finish the song the next day. But imagine Eddie and Alex staying up for 24 hours recording this song. Pretty cool. But Ed used his famous Obrium OBX-A synthesizer on this. And the lyrics were done in one day as well. And as all you guys know, which Brad might get into, David Lee Roth coming up with lyrics for this song.
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, Jump, I remember specifically seeing the clip for the first time, and I was like, man, who are these guys? I mean, I wasn't really playing guitar at the time or anything. I was just mesmerized by the film clip. And the stabbing, you know, I don't know what it was, but the stabbing dun, 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 sort of just captured me for some reason. I don't know, that synth intro, it was very 80s, but there was something more to it. There was that rock element there as well. One thing I will mention in this song, and I don't know whether there's any documentation that you guys know of or have researched, but something with the kick drum gets lost at the start. Do you guys know anything about that? If you really have a listen, when it comes in, there's the volume is like whether mic's not set up properly or it falls out, or I'm not sure. But
one of the things they struggled with, Brad, is they couldn't get a full drum setup for Alex in the studio because it was so small. Eventually they added on and built a drum room, and I'll get into it when I get to All Wait, but some of the tracks had 2 drum tracks because he couldn't use a full drum set, and he would do some of the stuff and piecemeal it together, and that's what you're hearing on the album. So there may be been some sort of mess up that they just ran with, where either he forgot something on the bass drum or it didn't get added correctly.
Yeah, because if you ever listen, I think it's like the second time through or something. Once the drums kick in, the kick drum sort of gets lost or disappears for a couple of beats. But that's just me. I'm listening to it, and I hear it every single time that song comes on for some reason. It's like I prefer listening to it live because it seems to have more energy. But I mean, look, for me, the song is when Alex comes in with that slamming drumming with the accents, and then I don't know, that the bass drum thing gets me. But David Lee Roth, his vocals are really, he comes in with a real swagger. I love the pre-chorus guitar parts where the guitar comes in. It's pretty simple, but it's so effective. The solo, even though spliced together, it just highlights a lot of his techniques. I love the feel of the solo as well, like the rhythm underneath it. The off timing on the drums is cool. The synth solo at the end, that's just fantastic. You can hear Ed's similar phrasing on the keys as what he, well, probably the other way around because he started on piano. So his phrasing on piano, he plays that same sort of phrasing on his guitar. Have you guys picked up on that? You can hear the phrasing, like the way he plays on his guitar. You can hear it. The phrasing's the same with, and that just that's in his head. Obviously, it's not a technique he's sat and learned. It's just there. But yeah, and the outro of the song with the dun 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 dun, and we know that we've discussed in the carnal knowledge reviews and rankings that we did that's on Standing on Top of the World. So it's been used a couple of times and it dates back. So I gave it a 9 out of 10. And the only reason I gave it a 9 out of 10 is because I've put a 10 out of 10 and I had to sit it just under it. I couldn't put it on the same level. So I had to emphasize the 10. So never a skip. And I play it in a cover band and, it's always a highlight to play. It's fun. The crowd get into it. And it's a party song. It's a party song. Even though it's written, from what I believe, it was David Lee Roth got the inspiration behind writing the lyrics for watching something of a guy standing on a building ready to commit suicide.
Right. But he backed himself up and said that it was about taking chances in life and jumping. But I forgot to give I give it a 7 out of 10. And Jay Hannon, he's jumping the gun. We're into track 2, and he's already wondering if there's any 10s. But there will be some 10s, Jay. And the reason
you got to watch the show, bro.
Thank you. The reason I didn't give Jump a 10 is probably the same reason Jay wouldn't give this song a 10. I know this for a fact because I've heard him say it. Is this song's been a little overplayed for me. I don't want to call myself a Van Halen snob, but when you grow up and there's not a ton of Van Halen fans, I just don't like the fact that some people, this is the only song they know. When it's like, there's 50 other songs that are way better than this, that if you heard them, you would love them. So I couldn't give it a 10 out of 10 because I got 4 other songs on this album that are 10.
Awesome. Okay, well, the next song, guys, is Panama, and I'm just going to pinch a little bit here of what Robot Master Switcher said. The relentless drive and beat of Jump continues into Panama, and clearly, so again, I'm going to point out another thing here. The video of this song is spectacular, and, here in New Zealand, it had an effect on a group of the guys I was hanging out with who were not Van Halen fans, so believe it or not, guys, I had more than 1 or 2 friends when I was growing up, so I had some friends, and watching this video and being excited and being excited with them to see this video, it's fantastic, if the plane coming, and then into that driving riff, that E major riff, happy, it's just fantastic. My notes here, and I'm part of that MTV generation too, so I just can't help when I hear a song like this, just think of the video. The opening riff is near perfect. It's pretty easy to play. There's a couple of different versions on how to play it. You can play it really simply or you can play it technically, but it still sounds pretty good. And look, we love the video because of the 5150 guitar. It was like, wow, that guitar, if you had a keen eye, and that was something, guys, that Van Halen fans used to use here in New Zealand as a key to see what kind of Van Halen fan you were, because that wasn't the Frankenstein, and other people would call it the Frankenstein, but if you were in the know, you knew that was the 5150. So, yeah. Love the song. It's again, guys, it's 10 out of 10 for me. I love the riff, love the video especially, and it's never a skip, and it's one song that I would play to somebody as a good example of what Van Halen is with David Lee Roth. I think I'd probably get a couple of kisses if I played that song.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, this song's a 6 out of 10.
Oh my gosh!
It's been overplayed, but for the video, this is the first time that we saw the 5150 right?
Yeah.
I remember watching the video thinking, is that the Frankenstrat? I'm like, no, it's a different headstock. Like, it's different color. What is that? My absolute favorite part of the video is where Eddie is dangling from the rafters, and he's got the 5150, and he's tossing picks out to the crowd, kicking his feet, and then Michealanthony's got his Jack Daniels bass doing the same thing, and I think David Lee Roth, hanging from his legs, squirming like a fish on a fishing pole. But you know, I don't give it such a high ranking just because it's overplayed, but I say 6 out of 10 is still pretty good. You know, I said earlier that Jump was the second song that they recorded on this album. Panama was the first. So this is the first song they recorded in 5150 studios. So any Van Halen nuts out there, that's a little piece of information that you may never ever use again, but at least you know that fact. I love it because it's kind of a modern Chuck Berry themed riff. I love the harmonics in the beginning, and of course, as a young guitar player, that's one of the songs that most Eddie Van Halen nut guitar players learn first. Other than Ain't Talking About Love, but I always struggle with getting that harmonic part, and I still struggle. I don't know how he does it so easy. Maybe one of these days Brad can show us the ways of the Force. But to me, this is like Eddie Van Halen in a whole. You know, it's all of his tricks and his jive and everything he's about all in one bag. And the other thing too is the day they started recording this album, Michealanthony got the Jack Daniels bass and he brought it to the studio, and he actually used it in the recording of Panama. And that's why he brought it on the Panama video, because when he went on tour, I think he only used that song during his solo and then maybe this song. But the Jack Daniels bass that was made by Wayne Charvel, not sure if you guys knew that, was debuted on this album. So like I said, this song, the video is awesome. First time you saw 5150 guitar, great song, never skip.
Well, Kurt, so you were going to get timed out for rating it 6 out of 10, but you know, because you got such lovely guitars, and you know, you try to give me compliments all the time about my guitar playing, you're out of timeout, okay? But I understand, yeah, it's an overplayed song, I get it, but I tried to, for me, yes, Jump and Panama are well overplayed, but I had to go pull myself away from that and rate it as part of the album.
Good on you. Good on you.
Look, this is the introduction to just guitar, bass, drums for the album, no keyboards. I thought I'd mention that. The stabbing guitar intro and the thumping drums together. You know, the song kicks in and with the big pick slide, and it's off to a slamming way. The verses are played laid back. David Lee Roth with his normal vocal stylings are really swagger, and there's always a certain element of, should I say, sex in his delivery. He always gives that, you know, swagger and sex to the song. The pre-chorus is a really cool build-up, and like Kurt said, the harmonics that lead into the stadium-like choruses. I mean, every time they played this song, you just look at the crowd and they're jumping to this song. You know, they're singing Panama. Dun, dun, you know, you can't. It's like a stadium-like chorus. I got to note the bass is thumping along in this song. The solo is really tasty, cheeky, in context of the song, and the bass line underneath the solo is really cool. The breakdown's really cool. The Lamborghini revving, that's Eddie's Lamborghini. I think they mic'd up his exhaust pipes for that. All these little things are quirky, and I like that. And I think, you know, David Lee Roth giving his ad-lib styles. I mean, it's obviously thought out and planned, but the delivery sounds like he's ad-libbing. Very clever. I gave the song 9 out of 10. I love the song. I'm desperately trying to get the 80s band I'm part of to start playing this song. I'd be dying to play this song live. I've sat around playing it as a young kid, like when I first got into guitar playing. Not well, but I got into it. And this is a definite song that you could throw on for anyone who doesn't know Van Halen, and instantly they get a good taste of the David Lee Roth era. That's my opinion. And I gave it 9 out of 10. Never a skip.
Yeah.
Never a skip.
Yeah, no argument. I think it's one of those great songs that shows David Lee Roth. Come back. You're out of time out now, Kurt. Come back. I miss you now, brother.
Okay.
Yeah, come back now. Come back. All right.
Joking.
No. He knows when he's in trouble.
You know, the song is about a car race that I believe called the Panama Express. But the lyrical content, there's suggestive lyrics in there as well, which we'll keep PG rated. But yeah, so it's borderlining that sexy feel to the song, and like I said, it's very stadium-like chorus line. You know, you get the stadium singing along with your Panama. Dun, 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 dun. You know, even I think I could sing it, and you know, I'm not a great singer, so.
So Brad, the word says that they actually taped a Shure microphone to a 1970 black Lamborghini Countach S5000. And this situation will actually come in later in the album, which most people don't know.
Okay, I'm interested now.
So they taped the microphone to the exhaust, and Eddie went, woo, woo, but they use it again later.
I think I know what you mean. Yes, I know what you mean. I'm not going to spoil it. Yep.
Awesome.
I know exactly where you So, yeah, definitely never a skip. And, you know, what a song, you know.
Yeah.
Considering it's recorded in 83, you know, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, phenomenal. So we're on to the next song, gentlemen. Top Jimmy. Now, gosh, are we going to get 3 in a row? Are we going to get 3 in a row? It's like, holy cow. For me, no. The song's close. It's close. Another stellar song with another wonderful opening riff. Just you know, it's a fantastic opening riff. Definitely a song that I've developed a love for over the years. It wasn't a song that I immediately was attracted to when I heard the album, but I've grown to appreciate it. Love the tempo change for the solo. You know, that's very, very clever, very sophisticated for Van Halen to do that. And again, I kind of think that's just the relationship that Ed has with Alex, you know, the fact that they can do that. And it would have been pretty easy for them just to do that. You know, it would have been just probably just a nod between the two of them. You know, fantastic example of that interaction that those brothers have. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. And, you know, it's close. It's close to be 3 in a row. You know, pretty close. But, yeah, I'll hand that over to my co-hosts and see what they say. But I'm pretty happy with my 9 out of 10.
Okay.
All right.
He's
You
getting
there?
his notes, is he? We're here, brother. We're here.
Show a picture, but I don't know if I can do this or not. Share screen. Share.
And then you've got to go. You've got to navigate over to one of your tabs.
Yeah, it's not going to let me do it. Anyway, I was going to show the Ripley guitar that Eddie used on this album. It's the one that looks like a unfinished wood-colored Telecaster.
Hold on.
I believe he called it the Pluto. Are you going to try to pull it up, Andrew?
Yeah.
Oh, what a man. What a man you are. So this guitar was a true stereo guitar where the Bartolini pickup in it actually has, it'll put all 6 strings in true stereo. So if you listen to Top Jimmy with headphones on or in front of monitors or in your vehicle, you could really hear how each string pans back and forth, especially in the beginning riff before the bass and the drums kick in. So this was the first time that Eddie had used that guitar. Of course, it was made by the late, great Steve Ripley. And what was cool about the addition to this guitar to this song is this is the first time Eddie really used that chicken picking method at the beginning of this song. The harmonics with the stereo panning, to me, is just amazing. It's an instant masterpiece, as you guys can see where this is going in my heart. It's an instant guitar masterpiece to me. I love the rhythm track on this with Eddie, and a lot of the times he doesn't get credited for his rhythm guitar work, which was phenomenal, along with Alex's drumming and Michealanthony's bass and harmonies. This song is a 10 out of 10 for me. And of course, a little bit of fun facts. Top Jimmy is about a gentleman that used to work at a taco stand called Top Tacos in Hollywood, California. And he was the lead singer to a band called the Rhythm Pigs. And if you listen to the lyrics of, so Andrew, it's the one where he's got the bungee cord or the slingshot hanging from the headstock. Scroll back up. Keep going. Right there. There you go. That's it. He used that pink one later on in 5150. There it is again as well. So anyway, Top Jimmy, he's the king. He was the lead singer to the Rhythm Pigs. And a fun fact, my brother got married in 2002, and he's the one that introduced me to Van Halen. And and I don't know if they do this in New Zealand or in Australia, but they have those books that you sign in when you go to the wedding, and it shows who showed up to the wedding.
Yep.
And I signed in as Top Jimmy in my oldest brother's wedding book.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. So that song has a special connection for you. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And real quick, before I let Brad go, when I think about this album, it's all cut in half. You have all the hits, Hot for Teacher, Jump, Panama, All Wait, and then you have the other half of the songs, and I'll get to it, but the other half of the songs are like way up here as far as my liking compared to some of the other songs. So they really, really did a good job on sequencing and putting this album together, and the songs they picked, because to have a never skip on an album is pretty rare. And for me, all of them are awesome. So, and I think Top Jimmy's kind of the start of those non-hit amazing songs for me.
Yep.
Yeah, well, for me, Top Jimmy holds a lot of weight on this album. For me, it's a great song. I really like the up-tempo feel. I love the cool harmonic tapping at the start, and the overdub guitar that comes in just add the meat to the intro. It's just got an overall lot of like depth to the introduction. Obviously, the chorus is catchy. Solo is the highlight for me on the song. Takes a whole new vibe. Could be another song idea. I mean, that's one thing I notice on a lot of Van Halen, especially this record. The solos have their own little section. Nice harmonies throughout. Look, I gave it 8 out of 10. It's never a skip. Never a skip. I love the song, but I gave it 8 out of 10.
Well, that's reasonable. I'm glad it wasn't a 7, Brad, or otherwise, or even a 6.
I'm out.
Then you'd be in trouble. But I think I just want to jump in and echo what Kurt said. I think there's a start of something else happening on this album. So, yeah, I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about that. So it's never a skip. So Drop Dead Legs. So, again, that riff is just brilliant. I still today can't get enough of that song. The background harmonies are amazing. It's a wonderful example of Van Halen. And probably, in my opinion, one of Dave's best vocals ever. And this song ends side 1, which is pretty interesting for when you look at, the way that albums, with sides back in the day were the song order was an amazing event in itself. Look, guys, this is a Brad score for me. This is a Brad score. It's one of my favourite songs on the album. It's a 20 out of 10 for me. I just love this song. It's I look forward to hearing what my co-hosts have to say about it. It's just in another level for Van Halen, and Kurt and Brad.
All right. Before I get started, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Cobra Kai Platoon.
Oh yeah, Cobra. Yeah, he's in the chat today.
Real quick, Cobra Kai Platoon. I showcased the Dreams and Stuff guitar, which was the black Les Paul. But I'm going to show you guys a quick picture if you give me a second here. If you guys watch The Late Show with Johnny Bean and Jay Hannon. Jay, I'm going to mod this guitar, and it's going to be the Dreams and Stuff guitar, which if you guys watched Van Halen Unleashed, that's the Dreams and Stuff guy that we're all looking for. So I'm going to have his face and Johnny Bean's signature put on a vinyl sticker, and I'm going to throw it on that guitar. So shout out to Cobra Kai because he came up with the artwork.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So Drop Dead Legs. Of course, side 2. Little facts on the recording of this song. This was another late night recording by Ed, Alex, and Don, and they came up with the song and freaked out and got Dave and Ted into the studio again the next day and had Dave add the lyrics after they were super excited about the song. And this song originally was supposed to be an instrumental. And I think Ted's idea was to have Dave add some lyrics to it. So most fans love this. Most Van Halen fans love this song on the 1984 track, and they kind of put it in with those deep tracks with Top Jimmy, Girl Gone Bad, and House of Pain. This is a classic drum sound from Alex. I love the drums on this song. It's kind of gives you the rock and blues, almost like ZZ Top, AC/DC vibe for me, of course, which we all know that ZZ Top and AC/DC are a big influence of Eddie. And my favorite part of the song is the last minute and a half where Eddie's just kind of jiving and grooving and there's no lyrics on it. But I give this an 8 out of 10. Love this song.
Mate, you've been reading my notes, I'm sure, on this one. On this song, yeah. Look, I love this track. First time I ever heard it, I still remember driving along, listening to the CD after I picked it up. And obviously I got into this after 5150, I went backwards. And
Me too.
I'd never really heard anything off the album other than the hits at that point. So put this on, and being a big Zeppelin fan, this one really resonated the most with me off the album at first. I love that really rolled back volume guitar intro where he's got the volume sort of rolled back a bit and it's just breaking up, it's cleaning. And once he winds that volume up and the song kicks in, it feels very similar to a Zeppelin vibe for me. It's got a real Zeppelin swing and swagger, but, you know, in only a way that Alex can play drums, you know, like not many people can play like Alex, and he just swaggers on this one. The harmonies are fantastic. The chorus, you know, the choruses are really catchy. The guitar runs leading into the breakdown like section are great. Like, I love that bit. The outro solo, same thing. With the rhythm guitar, I'm not sure whether this is true or not. It sounds like an octave pedal comes on the guitar for the riff. If you have a good listen to that, there's like an octave pedal there. The bass playing on this song is outstanding, and I love the solos on this track as well. Mate, 10 out of 10. 20 out of 10. 10 out of 10. 20 out of 10. I'll give it a Brad score. 20 out of 10. And I'll never skip this song. It's probably one of my most played songs off this album.
Love it.
Yeah. Look, I agree. Oh, look at that. We're going to do an... Here we go. Got the picks on there.
Got a couple picks on. Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys.
Oh, there he is.
I don't have a lot of room over here. I got a wall, so.
That's
Custom
beautiful.
pick.
There you go.
Awesome. Yeah, look, I agree with you. I think the song is phenomenal. It's certainly, hey James, it's certainly, you know, growing in my opinion of the song over the years. I just think it's wonderful, especially Dave's vocals, guys. All right, so we're on side 2, and so you've had your socks blown off by listening to side 1. You've gone in to the fridge, you've grabbed another can of Coke, you've run back into your bedroom, you've closed the door, you're turning the record over, you're going to drop the needle, and you're going to hear something which is like, oh my gosh, you know, what is this? You know, that drum pattern, and it just goes into this phenomenal guitar work, which kind of blew me away. Yes, and it still kind of does. And then, again, guys, you know, we've got to put this into context with the videos. The videos were important, and then we watched this awesome video. This awesome video comes out of the band, and you know, we love looking at Eddie Van Halen, we love looking at David Lee Roth, you know, they're doing all this cool stuff. Loved it.
We love looking at teachers.
I'm not going to mention. Oh, okay, all right. Okay. And notice the if you guys go back and look at that video and compare it to some of the videos today, you know, it's pretty tame.
Yeah.
Everything is tucked in on that video. There's nothing falling out, so that's pretty good. And look, guys, you got to remember this too. So I was discovering Eric Clapton around the same time, and Cream and stuff like that, and I was listening, and you know, I could hear some bits and pieces going on, but I couldn't make that connection. It wasn't until you started reading a little bit, and I've said this before, where Eddie talks about Eric Clapton, you go, aha! Then the penny drops, you see. Then it's like, I get it now. And then you talk to other guys, and then 30 years later, I'm hanging out with Kurt and I'm hanging out with Brad, and we find out exactly where that connection is. So when you're a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you know, a young guy, whatever, listening to that album, and you make that connection and discover it and link it, it's fantastic. Look, guys, it's a 10 out of 10. I thought about giving it a Brad score, but I couldn't, because Drop Dead Legs was the big song for me. So still 10 out of 10. Would I play this to somebody that hadn't heard Van Halen? Probably not. I think it's probably a level up for somebody, but it's never a skip.
All right. Well, for me, never a skip either. I mean, this is in my top 10. Yeah, hey, Johnny. How you doing? This is in my top 10 all-time favorite Van Halen songs, period. If anyone is a drummer out there, this is like the number one song that most drummers want to try to learn. And there's a little-known fact out there where I talked earlier about the Lamborghini being used on this album. So if you listen to this song, the first 20 seconds of this song, everyone tries to get. Believe it or not, that's the idling of the Lamborghini mixed in with Alex's drums. So most people don't know that. They all talk about the Lamborghini being used in Panama, but pretty cool that they used that loping of that engine to the beginning of Hot for Teacher. So when you guys are done watching this show, throw that song on and listen to the first 18, 20 seconds, and you'll hear it. Now, every time, after I read Ted Templeton's book, every time I hear that, the beginning of that song, I think about Eddie's Lamborghini Countach S5000.
You got to get that book.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. So one cool thing about this song is Eddie used his infamous 1958 Gibson Flying V. Yeah, go ahead. There you go. Eddie used this 1958 Gibson Flying V that he had purchased from a guitar collector, and he used this. He used this on Top of the World, and as well as a couple songs on this album. But you guys have seen some pictures of Eddie in 5150 Studios. I think this is one of his prized possessions. He does have a couple 59 Les Pauls, a Sunburst and a Tobacco Burst that he loves, but this Flying V is probably one of his prized possessions. But back to the beginning of the track of this song, Don Landy spent a long time blending the exhaust sound from Eddie's Lamborghini to blending in with the drums. I love the intro to this song. To me, that's like just gives me goosebumps. This is one of the goosebump songs for me. I love how Eddie rolls back the volume knob in this song between the first verse and the solo, and he actually uses the neck pickup to kind of get that warm, Eddie calls it that girly tone. So he's using the neck pickup, which, as you guys know, he really didn't use a neck pickup in a guitar really till Forunlawful Carnal Knowledge very much. So that's kind of a cool fact. A little bit about the video. If you guys have read the Ted Templeton book, Eddie actually brought in a couple old school desks, and he brought some rulers and some pencils and some paper, and they threw some beer bottles on the desk, and you hear Michael, Dave, and Alex like rumbling around with all this stuff and these trinkets and props that Dave brought in the studio. And Ted Templeton talks about how it really set the tone to recording this song with Hot for Teacher, where they kind of got that vibe of being in school. And I can imagine, Dave saying, "I got my pencil," and he probably just freaking grabbed that thing off one of the desks and just winged it, So for me, this song is a 10 out of 10. Never a skip. Like I said, it's in my top 10 favorite Van Halen songs. Real quick, and I'll hand it over to Brad. A cool fact, at the video, at the very end where Dave's in that hot rod with all the kids, they didn't own that hot rod. They borrowed it from some dude to do the video. And apparently the burnout was not scripted, and David Lee Roth did it without the owner's consent. and he flipped out and got all pissed off because Dave burned out in the parking lot, and of course they got it on tape, and like that's Dave in a nutshell right there.
It's very rock and roll.
Right. And then in closing, my favorite, one of the absolute favorite times with Eddie Van Halen is him walking across all those tables in that library and doing his solo. That's an amazing moment to me.
Well, hot for teacher, man. What can I say about this other than what you guys have already said? I mean, the drum intro, the first time I ever heard it, I had to listen to the song 2 or 3 times because I was like, what am I listening to here? It sounded like a Harley Davidson or something to me. Like it sounded like a Harley Davidson. That was my first impression. And my brain goes back to that the first time I heard it, you know. The explosive guitar intro, it's unbelievable. Like the first time I heard it, I was just like, what the, am I listening to here? The over the top, the tapping, the song, when the song kicks in, it takes off like a steam train, and Eddie Van Halen's rhythm guitar playing on this is amazing. He really highlights his rhythm playing on this. I love the, like Kurt said, the rollback on the volume, the ZZ Top breakdown, I call it, the Lagrange breakdown. Love that.
You nailed it.
I've always loved the verses. It's play on school teacher crushes. It's all right. I think as teenage boys, you might have had a teacher that you had a school teacher that was you had a crush on or whatever. So Well, I'm not going to go down the path too much on that, but the choruses are awesome, very clever. The solo, what Andrew said, if you listen to it and you think of Eric Clapton, you can hear a lot of Eric Clapton licks and Cream stylings in there, like the Cream era Eric Clapton stylings. They're definitely in there. Definitely has a lot of, Eddie Van Halen quirkiness as well in the solo. I love the cock rock ending. I believe that's come from somewhere else, and I couldn't find any. Maybe the Kurt can look that up in his encyclopedia. But the ending of Hot for Teacher came from another demo or something, I believe. I can't remember it was a long time ago I heard that anyway. So, but for me, 20 out of 10. And it's, listening to this album again, because I went through a long time without listening to Hot for Teacher because I just used to cane it all the time. I used to listen to it way too much. But yeah, it's back in my top 10 Van Halen songs of all time. So yeah, 20 out of 10, never a skip.
Fantastic.
And for me, I would play this to someone this is what Van Halen is, because.
Oh, really?
Yes, because
okay.
I agree with you in a sense, but I think it's like, well, guys, this is what Van Halen are in a nutshell.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, is it time for the rev?
I think it's time for rev.
It's Sunday.
Is it time for the rev?
I think so.
Okay.
Don't miss as Reverend Kurt shared his words of translation and facts.
I need to tune that up.
Everyone.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Andrew's going to pass around the pot. If today's your first time coming, you don't have to contribute to tithing, but if you're a regular here, please feel and give what the Lord tells you. I'm going to read a little bit about building the 5150 Studios. Earlier in the show, we talked about how pivotal 5150 Studios was to this album and to Van Halen's success, career, where they were going, where they had been. So a few facts about building the studio. Immediately upon return of Eddie's anniversary with Valerie, he began construction of 5150 Studios. Valerie's brother Drew was in charge of construction, and he was the person in charge of building and demolishing Ed and Val's old guest house, taking a turn at a Caterpillar and tractor, making it into a studio. Ed's faithful engineer, Don Landy, worked with him on all the technical parts of the studio's construction. Both Don's input and more critical to Ed than just his technical experience. The building of the studio was facilitated by Don and the desire to help Eddie fulfill his dream by taking control over his art. Don did not take long in picking out the board and the technical equipment needed to put this dream together. What ended up happening with the construction is the day they told the city they were building a racquetball court because a permit for a studio would not be allowed. At the same time, Ed told the city that if they ever found out that he was getting a studio, they would shut it down. He said the building was inspired and improved by the city and racquetball court, so they immediately put it together. When 5150 Studios was complete, the whole 1984 album was recorded there. Ed gave Don Landy a budget of, doesn't tell how much, but he gave him a budget on how much money to spend on putting together all the equipment in the studio. And while Van Halen was on tour for Diverdown, Don Landy was busy putting together 5150 Studios for Eddie. The name, of course, comes from 5150, which is a police code for insane on the loose. But as you guys know, 5150, after they did 1984, the remaining of the albums were recorded there. Of course, if you guys watch Wolfgang, he talks about he's going to continue to record there. But it's really cool that originally Eddie thought, or I guess everyone thought, that he was going to put together a boutique studio where he could record and tinker and do stuff on his spare time. But I think we all know that in the back of Eddie's mind, his true, real reason was he wanted to record the rest of the albums with Van Halen there. So, it was supposed to be a racquetball court. Obviously, when they got all the equipment in there, they found out that the space was too small, and that's why they had to use the Simmons drum set with Alex. And Ed Templeton talks about there wasn't enough room in the control room for more than two people. Later on, after I would say probably OU812, when they stopped using Don Landy, there was a little bit of headbutting going on where Don was in a lot of control in what was going on in 5150 Studios, and Eddie didn't like that. Every time Eddie asked Don a question, he would say, I'll just do it. And Eddie felt like he couldn't do anything unless Don was there. And of course, he probably had to pay Don. So eventually, they kind of parted ways, and Eddie figured out how to use that studio. And from Lawful Carnal Knowledge on, he figured out how to use the studio. And I think nowadays, Sammyhagar says that it's outdated and it needs a lot of work. But to Eddie, when he was there, it probably worked perfect. And I think Wolf doesn't want to change anything because it's a sacred playground for him, and he'll probably keep things the same. But I wanted to talk a little bit about 5150 Studios because it was such a huge shift and change in the band's what they were doing, and things changed from then on with the keyboards and with what they were doing. What do you guys think?
Oh, look, I think you've nailed it, and I appreciate you giving us the contribution from that book because, we can't underestimate what 5150 meant for Eddie Van Halen, and Kevin's book, what you've just read, just gives us a good illustration, and Ted Templeton's. Yeah, that's available, guys, on Kindle as well. If you don't want to buy the hard copy, it's on Amazon Kindle. It's fantastic. You can find Kevin on social media. He generally friends people who are Van Halen fans. So, it's a wonderful book. For a long time.
Channel, Alan Gerbergarber, their buddies. Yeah. They went to high school together.
Dr. Gerber. But for a long time, that was the only book that we had for a long time. Then we got the Van Halen saga, which the Revs got there. And then I think we were lucky enough to get Sammy's biography. Yeah. And then we've got the New Testament.
No monk.
No monk's book. Yeah, mandatory books.
This is the word.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't see that because I had a comment up. So if I'll get rid of the comment and I'll just play that video because you'll see there that those things that the Rev is holding up, I'll just play it again, are all those books. So he's actually speaking with some authority there. So hold on, we're just going to play another that video again. Hold on.
Don't miss as Reverend Kurt share his words of translation and facts.
Yeah.
I come down with an iron fist.
Andrew, can you pause it like you did with the thumb one for me? So
Oh yeah. Give me some time, guys. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll get some time later, and I'll just pause it. Yeah. That's what we want. Hold on. Send me that pic, brother.
I'll have to call my only friend, Robot Master Switch, see if he can come over and take a picture for me.
His only friend. Oh my god. Look, but I got to agree with you, Kurt. I think, if you guys, most of that stuff's available on digital format, so and everyone's got an iPad or a device now, so go and buy those books on Google. On Kindle, and you can read some of the stories. Otherwise, we'll give you the short versions as we continue with the 5150 shows. We'll always use that for.
Sorry, Andrew. Johnny knows as well.
Yeah. John. Yeah. They've been friends for years. So, so the Rev has spoken, which is good. We've had some holy inspiration imparted to us.
thank you, Kurt.
May the tone be with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you jump back on next week, we want you to change your name to the Rev Kurt 5150. All right.
All right. Maybe I'll put a cross emoji next to my name as well because it's certified.
All right. Oh my God. All right. So yeah. Look. So we're on to aisle weight. Keyboards, typical of its time. I'm just reading my notes here, guys. Alex's drumming comes in, which is pretty good. Weird vocals from Roth. I've given it a 6 out of 10, and it's skippable.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm passing it over to you guys.
Man, am I on the right show here?
I was gonna save this comment to my turn, but maybe it's time out for Andrew.
Oh
Yeah.
no! Come on, guys. Give me a break.
Well, it's your show,
Okay.
so you can tell me the line.
It's our show, guys. Come on. I'm just pushing the buttons.
I'll wait, but apparently Andrew won't wait when it comes to this song. To me, it's an 8 out of 10, and there's a reason why. But I'm going to give you guys another little Reverend Kurt 5150 piece of fact. Eddie's first piano lesson at the age of 6, he couldn't read sheet music. And he would painstakingly memorize his teacher's fingers as he or she moved him up and down the keys. And he would memorize the movement in correspondence with the notes. So let that sink in. How many keys are on a piano? I got a piano sitting here that's like dustier than the one on the jump video. But
24?
like that, how many?
24? I don't know. Johnny's a keyboard player. How many? He should be able to bang it right through.
Yeah. I'll skip, he says. So anyway, there's that many keys on a piano, and so this helped him develop his ear for music. The problem is like 2 years later, he got caught when his teacher said, "Hey, I'm going to play this song for you, Edward, and I want you to change the pages for me as I go through." And after the first time when he didn't get it, and the teacher's probably like, "Hey, come on, change the sheet," he got caught.
Yeah.
So imagine that at the age of 7 or 8, Eddie got caught by not being able to read music, by not being able to know when to turn the page for his teacher.
Simon.
But, I thought that was a kind of a cool story to tell, since All Wait is a beautiful, non-skippable song that was done on piano. While recording the song in 5150, Alex was doing the drum tracks in two tracks, like I said earlier. So if you guys notice that one part where it seems like there needs to be a cymbal crash at the beginning, he completely missed it. So what he did is he had his Simmons drum set and his regular drum set up, and he would play the first part of the rhythm track, and then they would go back and do the cymbals. So if you get the Ted Templeton book, he talks about this. So they did the drums on one track, and then they did the cymbals on the next. And the part in All Wait at the beginning, he missed the cymbal crash, but they kept it on the album. And it's almost like an iconic piece of the song, where it's not done correctly, but that's the way we know it. So pretty cool piece about that song. For me, it really wasn't a favorite of mine until I saw Van Halen with David Lee Roth in 2015, and they killed this song. Killed it. Like, it was amazing. So ever since seeing them live with David Lee Roth in 2015, like I've loved this song because they did a phenomenal job live. So those of you out there, get on YouTube one day and look up 2015 tour Van Halen All Wait. That's the one that Eddie usually played a different guitar every night, or he would switch from his white USA Wolfgang to something different. But I thought All Wait was awesome live, and it changed my perception of the song. So never a skip, 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, this song reminds me of a certain time frame in my life. So there's a sentimental attachment to this song for me. But I've taken that out of the equation, and I have to say I'm going to flip side what you said, Andrew. Okay? This is probably one of the first times that I disagree with you a fair bit here, Andrew, because, and I've been waiting for this moment, actually, because we're always on par. Now we're sort of, it's good. So for me, I've always been really attracted to this synth intro to the song. I love the way the drums come in, sort of mirroring a lot of what Kurt was saying. But I personally think David Lee Roth shines on this song. His vocal delivery and the lyrics are very clever, catchy chorus, very catchy. The bass is solid and thumping. I mean, the breakdown section, drums are awesome. And I've got to say, like, I've always loved Ed's solo on this song, and it takes it to the rating up for me on this song, that the last part of the song. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I love the tasty runs and the whammy bar ending, and to me it's a great song, but I'll give it 8.5 out of 10. I'll never skip it.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm happy. I'm happy to take on my co-host's comments, and I will go and listen to that song again, because Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you, guys.
Oh.
I honestly thought I would be on par. When I was making my rankings here, I thought that you guys would be. Yeah. I was confident that we would be on par on this song. So we're, yeah.
You're
Good to be surprised.
What does everyone in the chat? Sorry, Kurt. Sorry.
No, I just said you're forgiven, Andrew. You're forgiven.
Oh,
You're
thank you,
forgiven,
brother.
Andrew. And yes,
Thank you, Rev.
we forgive you for your sins, and you can redeem yourself. Redeem
What
yourself.
does the chat think of All Wait?
That's what I was about to say. What does everyone in the chat think of Oh Wait? Because am I on par, or is Andrew on the money? You know.
Well, Johnny said that he'll skip me, so that means that he thinks it's a 10 out of 10. And Luke has made a comment here that it sounds like how music's recorded today. Jay's on my side. He reckons 6 out of 10's fair. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, shoot me down in the comment section if you like, but I reckon 8.5 out of 10's fair for this song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm an 8 out of 10. And just a few facts. Of course, we know that Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers helped David Lee Roth on writing the lyrics to this song. He wasn't credited at first, and he picked up the phone and blew up Ted Templeton and said, "What the heck, man? I helped out on this song, and you didn't even credit me." And apparently he said that was the best thing he ever did, was help David on this song lucratively. So he probably made some money helping with that one song, which, if we go back to Eddie not taking any money from Michael Jackson, you imagine how much money Eddie would have made if he would have been credited on Thriller. And Ted Templeton, when Eddie was trying to get him to approve this song, he used to say that it reminded him of "Hold Your Head Up High, Hold Your Head Up." Who is that? Yeah. Is it Urgent? Is that who it is? Urgent, Hold Your Head Up. So Ted Templeton said that song sounded like that song, and he didn't approve of it.
And Jay said that they kind of ripped that song off for their new single. So, so it's still inspiring musicians today, which is always a key thing, isn't it? Yeah. But most of the guys in the chat are sort of siding with your guys' kind of school. So, yeah, okay, I'll go and renegotiate that and report back next show, guys.
And you need to pray to Reverend Kurt for redemption.
Okay. Bloody hell.
Three Hail Marys.
Okay, well.
Confess your sins.
Yeah,
okay, well,
Jamie H2011 Olea Argent, Hold Your Head Up. That's the song Ted Templeton said that sounded like. So
yeah,
if you listen to that, it kind of has the same melody.
And thank you, is it Jamie or Jaime? Thank you for joining us again. I remember you being in the chat the last 5150 show that we did, so thank you for coming back. Always appreciate it. So, Girl Gone Bad. So that sort of dovetails into, the religious themes that the co-hosts were talking about with the previous song. So, Girl Gone Bad. Look, there's clarity in Ed's playing on this song for me. The harmonics are beautiful on this song, and look, we know that Eddie is famous for harmonics, but there's just something specifically about the harmonics on this song that I love, and that palm muting that he does, it's just fantastic. A lot of busy work going on there with the guitars, and the guitars and the bass play off really well. So I've held back making a comment about Michael Anthony's bass playing, but it certainly is a standout feature for me on this track. There is something going on there, and it's just wonderful on behalf of Michael Anthony. And that 3-minute mark, that there's a nice interlude going on there again, very clever for Van Halen, and a reflection of the fact that Eddie's had time in the studio to work that out. And then we've got, Ed and Alex just working together on that interlude. I don't know, it's that the cymbals and the snare work that Ed's doing. Again, you can just almost picture the Van Halen brothers doing this for the last 20 years, or however they started playing music together. And I love that abrupt drum ending. I love it. It just sort of ends abruptly. And one last comment before I hand it over to you guys. I think they should have ended the album with this song, in my opinion. I think this song should have been the ending, the last song. And I'll hand it over to you guys. And it's a 9 out of 10. Probably 9.5. I've got 9.5 here. Love the song. Never a skip.
Awesome. Well, for me, this is an 11 out of 10. One of my favorite songs on the album. This is almost Alex's album as well. We talked about this is Eddie's album, but man alive, this seems like there's so many highlights of Alex on this album. And you read a lot of Eddie's articles that he's done in Guitar Player and Guitar World and Aficionado, where he talks about he didn't like the sound that Alex got out of the first 4 studio albums they did at Sunset Sound. So I almost felt like Eddie almost put this studio together for Alex as well, not room wise, but he really wanted to highlight his brother. This song was actually written in a hotel room, late one night while the band was on tour in South America. And Valerie had been down there visiting with Eddie, and she was in the hotel room with him. And he came up with the riff in his head, and it was like 2 or 3, 4 in the morning. He didn't want to wake her up, so he grabbed his tape player, he grabbed his guitar, and he went into the closet next to the front entrance of their hotel room, and he recorded the riff on tape because he didn't want to forget it while he was sleeping. So kind of cool that this was put together in '82 during the Diverdown tour. Eddie used his 1958 Gibson Flying V again for this song. But for me, the reason why it gets a 10 out of 11 is because this thing is absolutely loaded with all of Eddie's tricks. It's almost like jazzy, really beefy jazzy to me. But I wrote down here tremolo picking, tapping, squeals, dive bombs. Like that's Eddie all wrapped up in a grilled burrito. So 11 out of 10, never skip, love it. And I think Jay gave a 11 out of 10 too. So he must have been looking at my notes.
Yep. I think it's got all the tricks. Good point.
Yeah, well, that was in my notes there too, Kurt. So I think you've been reading mine, but that's fine. I tend to think this song, it's got a real haunting feel with the tapping harmonic thing at the start and the intro builds up. The great guitar runs and drum accents together, like the way they did that was phenomenal. And that just goes to show how amazing Ed and Alex played together. And I wanted to highlight that because that's probably,
Yep.
They were like two, they were brothers. They grew up playing music together. They were so tight. It was, and I have seen interviews where Ed and Alex would talk about how they were like the rhythm section. They were like the rhythm section and the bottom end was just like the layer, the foundation for them. But it's really evident in this song. It's a killer feel. Once the drums come in, the vocal delivery is great. The harmonies are amazing. And I did, put down the bass playing is very tasty. I love the breakdown takes on another feel again. Like the songs just sort of take another feel all the time. The solo's wide open. There's just tons of Eddie tricks and everything you can think of that Eddie's ever done in this solo. The bass and drums are really locked in tight. The bit after the solo where it winds down, it's just like that haunting intro again I love the guitar run, the match with the drums is probably the highlight for me in this song. And the outro feel with the ending is very classy. I made a note of that to Andrew, so to mirror what you were saying, and I gave it 10 out of 10. Never a skip. It's a really powerful song.
Wow. Well, thank you guys. I think we've redeemed ourselves there. We're on par again, so it'll be interesting to see what we come up with the last song. So, last song, end of an era, guys. We're into another era, and we've already done that era because we're working backwards. And there's a few years before they get to a different kind of truth. Now, just before I get into my ranking, guys, when you compare 84 to a different kind of truth, there's no continuity there at all, is there? It's and I suppose there shouldn't be, given the time between the two albums. But if anybody thought that Van Halen was going to have some connection to 1984 with a different kind of truth in 2012 or something like that when that album came out, well, there's no continuity at all. And that's a pretty good thing, I suppose. I just wanted to bring that point up because I've been on other social media platforms where people thought that they could have done that. I don't know. I'll be interested to get your guys' opinions on that and anyone else's in the chat. So before we do that, though, I'll give you my comments on House of Pain. So a song, in my opinion, that probably has a place or a home on Fair Warning. The guitar work on this song is way out in front, and Brad, being a producer, will probably discuss it or explain it a little bit better than I can. Either that or they've buried David Lee Roth's vocals, but the guitar work, to my ear, is out of all the other songs on there, it's just way out front. I didn't particularly like the song when I first heard it, but I grew to love it over the years, and I think it's a deep cut worthy of more recognition simply because of the guitar work. So if we thought that Eddie was doing some wonderful guitar tricks on Girl Gone Bad, it's a wonderful example of how Eddie can sound completely different but still be Eddie Van Halen, if you guys understand what I mean. So it's a 10 out of 10 for me. 5, 10, 15 years ago, it may have been a 6 or a 7, but it's certainly a 10 out of 10 for me.
Excellent.
So I can't believe you said that, Andrew, because I swear this was recorded somewhere else earlier on in their tenure. This was not recorded in 5150 Studios. This was either recorded at Amigo Studios during Diverdown, or this was recorded during Fair Warning, and they brought it back and added vocals to it. If you listen to this, like I talked about, either with nice monitors or headphones or in a car, and you listen to it after Girl Gone Bad, or...
What do you think I've been doing for the last 2 weeks?
It's...
What do you think I've been doing for the last 2 weeks? I've been listening to it, but yeah, that's amazing.
It's different. It's completely different.
Yeah.
It has a different feel, a different vibe, a different tone.
Yeah.
It's different than every song on the album. So I truly believe that they tracked this somewhere else and it didn't make the album, and they brought it back for this album. And of course, like this was a club song back in the day, right? This song's been around since probably 1975, maybe.
Well, Lucas saying 77.
70. It was on the demo. It was on on the Warner Brothers demo, and it was also on the Gene Simmons demo with a different name, so the people in the chat know. But to me, and I don't know if Jay's still on here and Johnny too, it sounds different. So I believe that this was not recorded there, and they brought it back. House of Pain. There you go, Jay. So to me, 9 out of 10, never a skip. I kind of went through that it was recorded somewhere else. Sounds different than the other 8 songs on the album. During the club days, they played this song. It was on the Gene Simmons. I pretty much went through everything. But yeah, 9 out of 10. I love this song, but I truly believe that it might have been recorded somewhere else. So I love it. It's one of those, the other 4 songs outside of the hits that I love. So there you go, Brad. You.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you mentioned that you think it's recorded somewhere else. I just thought they went for a different sound with this song. That was what I assumed. I wasn't aware of that, but for me, definitely agree with you, Andrew. I reckon this one could have been on Fair Warning. It's would have fit on that album. Fits on this album as well. For me, the off-time guitar with the drums at the intro is like infectious. It makes you want to pick up a guitar and play along and try and nail that rhythm. It's a very hard rhythm to nail. I love the chugging rhythm during the, where it takes off and where it's just, it takes on a different sort of vibe to the rest of the record, which I kind of think's cool for this. The verses take on a whole new feel on the drums, and the drums are very busy during the verses. I agree the vocals are drowned a bit, and I don't know whether that was intentional or what, but the chorus is very catchy, cool vocals on the chorus. I wasn't, I don't know, for some reason the verse vocals, maybe it's because they're lost, but they don't really sound that big to me. Maybe it wasn't a great delivery and they tried to I don't know. Who knows? We'll never really know. The second part of the solo where it goes to the double time is my favorite part of the song. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but it's reminiscent of Hendrix's Fire to me, where it's like, you have a listen, go back and listen to this track where the double time is, and it does the key changes, and it kind of reminds me of Fire for some reason. Not Eddie's playing, but the vibe. So go and have a listen to that. And the cool outro guitar playing. Great song, great, overall I gave it 10 out of 10. I love it. I love Ed's playing on it. I love Alex's playing on it. The bass playing is great. I'd be lying if I didn't say this song's been flogged, but off the album, every time I listen to this record, this song, I crank it, because I reckon I listened to this song, the last 3 songs I listened to the most in the last 2 weeks. I just kept replaying those last 3 songs all the time. I'd listen to the record and I felt like, because it was only, 9 songs, I felt like I was being cheated, so I went and played the last 3 songs again. Yeah. So 10 out of 10 for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Brad, they struggled to get this album out in time. They originally wanted to do it for New Year's, and that didn't make it. And of course, the whole mantra of Don Landy and Eddie locking themselves in the studio, and Don threatening to burn the masters and not giving the masters to Ted. Yep. I wonder if they were struggling to finish this thing, and last minute they said, hey, let's bring House of Pain in, and it's already done. We just need to add vocals to it, or
maybe,
throw it in, and then it just needs to be mixed. I don't know, but that's my theory. It probably isn't correct, but that's what I hear.
I'm a big fan of Van Halen's darker sounds, and that's why I like the Carnal Knowledge record and Fair Warning. I really like those albums. So this definitely was a favorite of mine on the record. Yeah, but I'd be interested to see what people's take on that if you go and listen to that, where the double time part starts in the solo. See if it reminds you of Jimi Hendrix's Fire a little bit. I don't know if it's intentional or what, but the more I listened to it, I kept thinking, man, that reminds me of Fire. So,
yeah, I see Robot Master Switch. It reminds him of metal. Man, when Eddie and Alex get that harder stuff, they're like just barely touching the metal scene, which, I love it.
Yeah. Look, the whole thing is early Van Halen. Like Van Halen is a big part of the metal scene, even though they weren't, in my opinion, a metal band. So the minute that they started palm muting and that, it was obviously taken to another level for other bands. But yeah, amazing song, amazing record, and I feel grateful that I had the opportunity to be part of, going through this one.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to Van Halen and the characters that are around Van Halen at the time that we finally got that album, because we're going to probably keep going on about it as we do more of these other albums. Noel Monk, gives us an insight into the dynamics of the band, and Noel talk. I don't want to give too much away, just in case you guys want to go and get the book. It's available, but you need to read the chapter on 1984, and the Van Halens and that division, that dichotomy between the Van Halens especially and David Lee Roth was pretty big, and it's just a testament that the band got this album out, and guys, they did a tour, as well, so yeah. I don't know if would bands be able to do that kind of stuff now,
Yeah, it's a different time.
Yeah, different time, man. Different time. I from this, I think they were lucky to get this record done and get it out and tour on it the way they did. But obviously, I think there was a time there when, it's come out since, where Ed was looking at replacing David Lee Roth anyway, like prior to David Lee Roth leaving. So that just goes to tell you that there was obviously, turmoil behind closed doors.
Right. Because David, remember last show where we did the 5150 album, where I talked about Patty Smythe and Eddie asked him to join the band. When
that's right.
Dave was still with the band.
Yeah. And that's but it's a great album. It's one of my favorite David Lee Roth era records. So it's a great album. And I don't know, guys. I think we did pretty well. Most of our ratings were the same. Andrew's got to redeem himself with Reverend Kurt.
Yeah.
Look, it was a huge album. I remember having it on cassette deck, and you'll be familiar with this being an Australian. I had an Holden 1964 Holden station wagon, and believe it or not, mate, there was a period in my life where I was surfing. We'd go to Raglan there and surf on the rocks with my friends, and this album was played continuously for a long time. It was a fantastic album. I had friends who weren't Van Halen nuts listening to it. This was popular music, guys. Ordinary people were listening to this kind of stuff, and I think that's something that we've got to remember. And if you're a vintage person in the chat, you'd probably remember that. But if you're a little bit younger, like Luca, for example, who's a younger guy, he may not understand that this was kind of popular music at the time, and you either liked it or you didn't. And I've got a soft spot for this album, and the videos especially. I'm glad that we've mentioned that. Seeing Eddie mime guitar parts was delicious. Was something that we wanted to see, and then we managed to get it a couple of years later with that. So we didn't have much really in between. Yeah, I love the album. It's a good end for the David Lee Roth years.
Yeah, it's interesting. Robot Master Switch talks about that he listened to 1984 and then he parlays into Eat 'Em Up and Smile. And you hear that David Lee Roth was not for keyboards and he didn't want keyboards on the album. And he said, Eddie, you're a guitar god, like no keyboards. But you listen to Eat 'Em Up and Smile. If any of you guys watched the Eat 'Em and Smile live, David had a keyboard player. You know? Yeah, it is interesting listening to the two. And, you know, we didn't get into David Lee Roth's solo album. You know, he, quote unquote, says he threw that together because he wanted to help push the brothers along while there wasn't anything going on if you read David Lee Roth's book. But to me, when I think of 1984, I feel like the band was on its way up to the top of the mountain. And 1984, they crested the top of the mountain, and they were at the highest point that they could be. And Dave left. And then Sammy came along, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but Sammy took them into the atmosphere. Because there's a couple bands that can summit on a mountain, and then usually they, you know, degress their way down. But when Sammy got there, they continued past the summit, and they, you know, I know Brad will agree with me and Andrew too, but they got into the atmosphere when Sammy joined. And it was kind of cool how the whole thing was set up. And Eddie always talks about every album's different. And there was little children, and none of them are the same. And they all kind of are a timeline and a story. And they're all different, and they all hold their piece in the reason why we're doing this show. The reason why I'm a freaking nut.
Yeah. No, look, I fully agree with you. And look, I don't think you're offending anybody because the facts stand for themselves, Kurt and Brad and everyone in the chat. You know, you know, this was, a point in the trajectory of the band, and Sammy came along, and they just took advantage of what was set in place with 84. We have to give that credit, don't we? Where credit is due. You know, they were in the MTV era of viewers, and you know, that crossover period, which is really important between hard rock bands and popular music. A lot of bands can't do it. Van Halen did it. They did it well. You know, none of their songs on 84 were all pop songs. There were a couple which you could signify as pop songs, but there were some songs on there which, you know, we've just agreed that should have been on Fair Warning. So, you know, they didn't sell out. That they were just, the music industry had just locked onto them and said, hey, we can make some money here with these guys. And, you know, Van Halen didn't sell out.
Definitely didn't sell out.
What do you think, Brad, in conclusion?
Look, I tend to agree. I mean, look, for me, it's like going through these David Lee Roth records is, you know, I listen to it like it's a different band, even though it's the same band. I probably shouldn't, but the eras, I talk about them as eras, I guess. The David Lee Roth era, this and Fair Warning are my two picks for the David Lee Roth era. And obviously the first two records are standout as well. But if I was to pick at this present point in time, I'm glad we did this record first for the David Lee Roth era because it brings back a lot of fond memories for me as well, this record. And I'll mirror what Andrew said. On the last episode, we did the 5150 album. And that reminds me of driving, you know, down the coast with my surfboard, you know, listening to that record. And 1984 was the same because I had that as well. So, you know, I used to have a HG Holden Andrew. And
Wow.
yeah, I bought a HG hold.
Flash.
Yep, it was a flash one, mate. And I used to sit there and listening to these songs, and "Oh Wait," for example, is a song that it whenever I hear the song, the intro of it, it reminds me of an exact moment in time. It's amazing that these songs, they do that, and I like this album, because it reminds me of a time frame, and the playing on it is phenomenal. The songs are great. I mean, I agree with you, Kurt, as well, where they peaked and they kept going. But that's a testament to a good band. I mean, you look at AC/DC, and when Bon Scott passed on, and then they got Brian Johnson in, they just kept going, and they became more successful than they ever were because they'd already peaked. They were pushing, and they were relentless. They kept moving. They kept going. So that's my summary of it. I mean, I could never sit here and say better, worse, this or that, because I'm not that kind of guy. I listen to each record for what it is, and I era it. I know it's David Lee Roth, and I think that's a good way to do it. If you want to be sensible about it, because at the end of the day, it's the same band. Once they moved on with Sammy, it's the same band. And Ed wrote most of the music, if not all of it. So it's still Van Halen to me, regardless. It's just era. The era changed, And the introduction of keyboards and things like that, I reckon it's great for the band. They evolved, and Eddie evolved as a songwriter as well, like they all did. They all just became better at their craft. So That's my take on it.
You guys talk about your first car. My first car when I was 16 was a 1979 Chevy Love pickup, 4-wheel drive. Chevy red orange, just like the 5150.
Oh, wow.
Same color. This was my truck right here.
Wow.
Well, Kurt, my very first car was...
It burned more oil than gas.
My very first car I ever owned was a Datsun 180B, and it was pretty much identical, same color as that.
Yeah. Oh, no way. I had a friend that had a Datsun. His was like a off-white. Yep.
Mine was exactly the same color as yours. Whoever owned it previously resprayed it, so they must have been, they wanted to be seen driving up the road, and that's everyone used to know it was me coming because they'd see my car a mile away.
Oh my God! Well, we're pretty similar in age, like within a year or two. So that's pretty funny.
And they probably used to hear, one of 2 or 3 bands playing and blaring out. Yeah, so it would have been Van Halen. Yeah, so there you go. Good times.
For sure.
I think Simon's just mentioned something here in the chat too that fans, this thing of selling out, I think it's an interesting concept because a lot of people said that Van Halen did sell out, for a lot of reasons. One thing I want to share with you guys before we split and end the show. When I was doing some research for the show, it's interesting that Rolling Stone didn't have any love for Van Halen, which is interesting. They had no love whatsoever. I didn't realize actually how critical they were of Van Halen right through their career. Interesting.
Well,
have you guys got any comments to make on that?
When Eddie passed, they did that Rolling Stones magazine with him on the cover, and he was
correct.
The 14th highest guitarist or whatever.
Yep.
Meh.
Yeah. Rolling Stone, mind you, Rolling Stone stopped being significant 30 years ago.
They turned into a rock and roll magazine into a pop culture magazine.
Yeah. But that's another show, guys, that we can do. So your co-hosts here, we're talking about developing some more shows as we end up going through the rankings of the Van Halen albums. We've got some ideas. If you guys have some ideas for some shows that we can do, we would love to hear them. Doing a review on some of the magazines that are out there and some of the books is definitely something that Kurt and Brad and I are keen to do.
Maybe some tone,
especially
some tone stuff where we take amp settings out of some of these magazines that are out there.
Yes.
Maybe we plug our guitars in and see if it, sonically sounds like what we're trying to get. That would be another thing we talked about doing. So I would challenge the people in the chat to not comment on here, but comment down below after the show's over on what you want to see or what you want to see less of or more of.
Yeah. I had a couple of messages there from some of the regular viewers. So we do talk about that. So we look forward to sharing those future shows with you guys. This is certainly something that we'll do continuously for a while. When the Rummeister is finished with his work commitments, he'll be back on. But until then, it will be myself, Brad, and Kurt, the Rev, giving you a Van Halen fix for you. Please share the channel. We would appreciate that. If you just give me a second there, you can see this is where you'll get hold of Brad. There's Brad. You can follow Brad on Instagram, easy, at Brad Cook Music on Instagram. And the Rev, there he is there, Kurt5150, active on
I have
Instagram.
Like 5 followers, so anything would help.
We would appreciate, and that's a good way to keep in touch with the show too on a different format because, we're doing different things over there on Instagram. So you guys are lucky if you guys are regular watchers of the Sunday show with Simon Williams because Brad and I are back on tomorrow going through Abbey Road, ranking the tracks on Abbey Road. Then we're doing Aqualung the week after. And which one of you ratbags is presenting Diverdown? Oh, that's right, because Brad wanted to do Fair Warning. That's right.
Yep.
Because Brad always gets his own way,
I love Diverdown. I love that.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah. So hang on for that show because I think that show's going to be very interesting because Kurt and I have spoken about that and on some other shows too. I think I don't know why that album gets a lot of hate. I love that album. So Brad, I'll be looking forward.
Brad will change.
Well. Look, guys. I will admit this is the reason why I love this show because you're stuck listening to, from our perspective. If you guys are still listening in the chat, we spend a lot of time. We invest a lot of time and energy into doing this show by listening to the songs, making notes, readjusting as we go. We don't just do this on a whim. There's a lot of pre-planning. We do a lot of chatting in the background. The thing I love about this is it gives us the opportunity to analyze an album rather than just skipping over things and going, whatever, or yes, I love this. It's not. I heard a lot of stuff in this record, for example, that I necessarily took for granted maybe by diving into it for 2 weeks straight. So, there's certain moments on here which I don't know, Kurt, whether you've got information and you can back it up or someone in the chat can of Michealanthony's contribution on bass, because there's a lot of fantastic bass playing on this record. The harmonies, the parts of the songs that, you know, there's one part of one of the solos in Girl Gone House of Pain that I just go, wow, I've never picked up on that before. So like the Hendrix, reminiscent of Hendrix thing. And it's going to be great to just listen to Diverdown for 2 weeks straight, because I normally would not listen to that album in its entirety like I would Fairwarning or Carnal Knowledge or 5150 or 84, you know? So it's going to be good for that. And that's, you know, it's great that your homework, guys, in the chat, and anyone that watches this later, is to do the same. Go through, listen to it for 2 weeks. It's great to see everyone chatting in there, but we want to see your rankings as well as we go. And do us a massive favor, and this is how I'll wrap up the segue back to you guys, is please, please, please share the channel. Share the channel. Let's grow this thing. I think we're on we've got a good little team here. We have a lot of fun with you guys, and we want to grow. So, you know, we'd be really appreciative. And share it on your social medias. All you got to do is copy the link and paste it to your wall in your Facebook, and then people will see it. So, you know.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I think
we cool.
1, to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, and 2, to get Simon Williams to love Van Halen and to know a little bit of that.
and make sure you go and thumbs up. You know, that all counts too.
Yeah. We've picked up a few subs this evening, guys, while the show was on. So look, that's good. And look, I just want to do one little wrap up before I give it to Kurt, because I think your wrap up is fantastic, Brad. Thank you guys for your contribution. I can never ever give my thanks enough to Brad, to Kurt, and to Simon, because if it wasn't for you three guys, we wouldn't have any shows. So, you know, and there'll be no one in the chat. So you guys are giving your time. You guys are taking away, sacrificing time to do the research, to contribute to the show. And, you know, that's, I'm always humbly thankful for your time.
The Rum Master too, Andrew.
Oh, and the Rum Master,
shout out to Steve.
Yeah. Well, forever humble, you know, humbled by it. So thank you, guys.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay. So stay tuned.
Right.
Stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram, and then you'll be in touch with the progress on the channel for the next show. And join Kurt's and Brad's Instagram, because we share some interesting stuff on there. Kurt's always doing some cool graphics, some promoting the shows. So there's some funny stuff happening there. So
Kurt, you're really good at it, mate, because I'm not good at that stuff. So
yeah, but you're good at doing like slideshows and adding music and all that stuff. I need to talk to you. I don't know.
To me, it's kind of like I have to wait for everyone else to do all the stuff so I can just cut and paste and use it and then put it together. It's other than that, you know,
just know you can steal my stuff and send it out anytime you want. But I challenge you guys to listen to 1984 this week if this show inspired you to listen to it, and then also listen to Diverdown the next week. That way, when we do our show on Friday, you're fired up, ready to spew out what opinions you have, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear more of. But I appreciate you guys coming in. Share this with anyone you know that loves Van Halen, because we want 1,000 subscribers. But thanks for letting me crash your Friday or Saturday. Appreciate being here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And just before we play the yeah. Happy birthday, Eddie.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Eddie. And this is a happy birthday from Brad on behalf of the show for Eddie. Hold your horses, guys. Wow, aren't we lucky? Hey?
Man, that was awesome.
Hopefully there's no one in the chat anymore.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Sunday show.
Hold this up.
Oh, I haven't got my copy. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
I'll hold this up instead. Thumbnail. Okay, that's good. See you guys later. See you tomorrow.
Have a good night.
You know.